it's going to be a hot night, too. It's
yes,
warm
it is.
out there.
It is. A little toasty for this time of year.
If you're going to the game, if you're one of the players on the field, drink water. A lot of water tonight.
My wife always reminds me, hydrate. I always have a problem with that. That's probably why when I was a player, I would always cramp up. So this is definitely a night where you want to make sure you're on your A game. You're nice and loose and hydrated because we've got some pretty good matchups this week.
We really do. I think there's a number of games that kind of jump out at me as I'm looking at the list here tonight. The Chesterton at Valpo game, that's a huge rivalry.
Oh, yeah.
You know that one.
I do. I know that one intimately.
So that's going to be a big game, and really it's a big game for Chesterton. They're on the road, but they need to get back in the win column.
It's going to be pretty tough. They're on the road. They're at Valpo. This is a rivalry game, and Valpo's starting to move a little bit. They're starting to really find their groove, and it's going to be interesting to see how Chesterton responds to that.
You know, another Duneland Conference game is Michigan City at Maryville. And, Michigan City, I'm just really puzzled on their season. They have not played well. They've played good teams for sure. But, boy, they just need to get off the snide, and they need to get a win here.
For Michigan City, to me, I think it's about consistency. They're very mercurial. That's a tough word to say on radio, so bear with me here. But against Valpo, they jumped out to a 14-0 lead, and then Valpo scored 35 straight on them. If you can keep that momentum and just continually stay steady, they can really do some damage. There is some good quality athletes on this team.
Especially on the offense. Tyler Bush, their quarterback, is outstanding, and they've got a young man, I believe he's a sophomore, Jaden Hart, who can run the ball. They've got an excellent wide receiver. They've got talent, but their defense cannot give up 35 straight points.
It's tough. Football is a game of momentum, and it's definitely something that these teams can grab a hold of, or the momentum can go against them. And one game that I wanted to go over here is Laporte at Lake Central. Laporte's got some momentum behind them.
Yeah, they really do. R.J. Anglin really had a nice game last week. He had 2 touchdowns. Laporte came back from a deficit to win that particular one. They've got some momentum, and Lake Central, needs to get that defense fixed and be able to stop people. Lake
Central's well coached, and we know Laporte is rounding into a pretty decent and fiery team. This could be a pretty interesting game to me.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I like the Hobart at Lowell game. That's always a big game. I don't care what the record is for Lowell or Hobart. That's a huge game. It's at the Inferno. And with the heat up in the sun, that Inferno's going to be on fire.
Yeah, Red Devil pride, right? That's always a very fiery place to play, pun intended. And it's definitely a circumstance where Lowell is they're needing to find their footing and move forward. But Hobart is a team that started off maybe a little bit slow, but they've worked their way back into a very respectable program. And this game is actually our game of the week for television.
Right, that's right. And Hobart started off slow last week. They were behind,
right,
and then all of a sudden, after a halftime, they made a nice comeback. So they've got to be on the upbeat at this particular time. I'll tell you, Ben, what do you think of this one? Munster, Munster has just surprised the heck out of all of us at Kankakee Valley. KV is 3-1.
Yeah, KV's 3-1, and Munster, are they undefeated right now? No,
Munster's 3-1.
3-1. I'm sorry, I apologize. I got my notes wrong here, but Munster's been very impressive this year. Not to throw Andrew Johnson under the bus, our Munster alumni here, who's going to be providing us with scoreboard updates shortly. He did not expect much out of Munster this year, and they've been really impressive so far, about the midway point.
Yeah, and it's a nice turn for them. Preboy, their quarterback, has just done an outstanding job of running that option offense. Right. And, they've played very well, but Kankakee Valley under Kirk Kennedy, is playing Kennedy ball. They're running it. They're stopping people defensively. I really think this is going to be a tough one for Munster.
I tend to agree with you, and it's at Kankakee Valley, which is a very nice field. A little bit of a long distance drive there for Munster. It's going to be about an hour drive to get down there. Kirk Kennedy likes that offense where you take one step and you hit someone.
Yes.
And you just take care of business and you take care of that one man. That provides a lot of push on that offensive line and gives the opportunity to run the ball. That's what he wants to do.
Another team that struggled a little bit at the beginning of the year and now has turned it around. I think this is 2 straight games that they won. This is going to be interesting. Some team named Boone Grove travels to Wheeler.
Oh, Boone Grove, that's an interesting program there.
I mean, you guys want to talk about, you can talk about Chesterton and Valpo all you want when it comes to rivalries, but I tell you what, for small schools, Wayne, I think you need to do a Little 5 or maybe even a Big 10. Is that, no, not Big 10, right? It's top 10.
No, we're not in the Big 10 yet. No.
Yeah, we're not in the Big 10 yet. Rivalry games, because that is an absolute rivalry. And I just want to say that, I know Boone Grove has struggled this season, but this is their Super Bowl. All right, this is it. This is it.
Well, they've turned it around. I think they won 2 in a row now.
They have.
That's a good sign. And whenever you travel to your, toughest opponent, the one that you look for, this game, especially being at Wheeler, not at Valparaiso, it's going to be a big one.
I mean, for Ben, I think I speak for both of us in that saying that, defending the home turf in Valpo really matters a lot. And when you're on the road,
right?
When you're on the road, yeah.
But it's definitely a circumstance where, anything can happen in one of these rivalry games. And Tom obviously is passionate about his Boone Grove Wolves. He is our resident Boone Grove.
Did I give that away?
I think it was a little bit obvious.
All right.
But it's going to be very interesting to see. Anytime you have 2 rivals going at it, anything can happen.
That's sure right. And, as we look down the roster, we have a lot of good games tonight. We've got a lot of good correspondents.
Absolutely.
That will be calling in. Dr. Reed Amos comes back, and he's going to be with us tonight. I can't believe he's not going down IU, but I heard you say he's going down tomorrow.
Well, everybody enjoys their college football, and
right.
Dr. Reed Amons is a steadfast IU supporter, so he's definitely going to have that opportunity. I think he's going down there with some family, so that's exciting for him. But we're looking to have him and his insight here on Maryville tonight.
And, Hanover travels to Griffith, and that's going to be, Griffith at home plays better. I don't know if they play well enough to top Hanover. Hanover now has brought back their quarterback, Matt Kuntz.
Right.
So that means that they've moved Tony Bartolomeo out to the wide receiver. Last week, Tony had 2 touchdowns as a quarterback for Hanover Central. And they've got a lot of very talented young men. Gannon Howes, Kyle Hasley.
Right.
You can just go down. The defense, Ryan Hilderman. They have a strong program.
You can go up and down the list. One thing that intrigues me about Tony Bartolomeo, he was an excellent quarterback, but he always said his natural position, what he wants to play, is wide receiver. And that's kind of a dangerous thing when you think about it, about how dynamic and how prolific he was as a quarterback and the athletic ability that he showed. Now he's going to be out there and having someone has much more experience at quarterback getting him the ball. This Hanover Central offense just got much more dangerous.
And what I was really impressed with when I read that article in the paper is that Tony said, I was just holding a spot for, Matt Kuntz,
right.
My best friend. And he said, I'm more than willing to move out to the wide receiver's position. That doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes people take that as maybe a slight or something, that they have played well, but yet they have to move to another position. Not Tony. Tony accepted it. In fact, he embraced it.
And if you're Hanover Central, that's what you want from your team. Do what's best for the team going forward. There is the old cliche, there is no I in team, yada, 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 But it's definitely one of these circumstances where Hanover has their eye set on getting through the sectional, maybe getting through the regional, and trying to make some damage downstate. They have the ability to do it. It's just a matter of, if everyone's on the same page, pulling in the same direction.
What's going to happen at Highland? Highland travels to 5959 Broadway to play Andrean. Andrean is starting to come back a little bit and play very well. And Highland has struggled this season.
Yeah, it's tough to go into a 59er home field with the momentum that they're starting to build. They had some injuries earlier in the year. They're kind of working their way through that. They've tasted some of their own blood in their mouth after getting punched in the face a couple weeks, but now it seems like they're catching their breath. And I kind of like Andrean here, and I think this may be a comfortable win for them.
Yeah, I do too. And they're a very deep team, and they're starting to come into their own. Losing the quarterback early in the season, was really tough. But I have been so impressed with Billy Henry, the quarterback, senior quarterback, steps in at quarterback, threw 3 touchdowns last week.
Right.
He has been really outstanding. He hasn't missed a beat. And I think Andrean is going to get better and better. And they play in 2A.
Right.
So,
and keep this in mind. They're still growing as a team. They're surrounded by a state championship roster.
Right.
So there is more to be growing upon for this team. I think that they have every shot in the world to be as dynamic as they were last year, particularly if some of those missing pieces get a little bit stronger.
I look at Pioneer coming in. Pioneer is a very strong program down south of us, but this year they've been kind of 50-50 at Hammond Central. Hammond Central has some really outstanding players. There's 2 Woods young men for them who can score. One is a wide receiver, and he's going to be college. There's no doubt. He's going to be a big college player.
Yeah, I think whenever you see a team from Pioneer, which is about an hour south of here, traveling up to about 45 minutes north of here, that is an awfully long bus ride. And even though Pioneer has had a long history, they will be taking on Hammond Central on their home field. Now, Hammond Central, like you already said, they have those dynamic players, but my concern is what is around those dynamic players. You play 11 people on each side of the ball. You can only do so much, and when we've seen Hammond Central struggle, it's been on the lines and the mistakes and some of these younger players that are just kind of learning at this point, but I think Hammond Central's got a shot to give some fight here.
I do too. And another one is Morton at Westside. Westside has that new field. When you look at Morton, they've struggled a little bit early on. Westside has some success, but this is at home. Now, I kind of led into that. I'm going to give you a question here, Ben.
Sure.
All right. Who leads the area in rushing and touchdowns? My
goodness.
And I'll say this. It's not a Duneland conference team.
You've got me stumped here. Who is it?
It is Calumet Terrell Griffith. Calumet Griffith Terrell. 731 yards, 11 touchdowns.
My goodness.
Okay. Justin Marshall only has 9, and he's second. This guy from Westside is dynamic, and he was dynamic last year when he played for Bowman. So this is one heck of a football player.
So clearly he's got some skills behind him. He's running back, right?
Yep.
And so he's has anytime you have a running back that can dominate like that and has the breakaway speed and the ability to get through the line of scrimmage, you stand a chance to really take care of business. At high school level, running the ball is absolutely the most important thing you can do on an offense.
I totally agree, and I'd like to get highlights of him for our scoreboard show because, boy, this young man can play football.
One that I wanted to go over here is North Judson at Winamac. I think that's going to be a good game. North Judson's coming off a big victory. Winamac is kind of an up and down program. But I think that being at Winamac could be a bit of an advantage to help them out.
I agree. Home field advantage, we talked about that, is always a big thing. Winamac has struggled this year. Now, they have a great program.
Right.
Last 3 years, they were really, really good. But they've struggled this year, and boy, the Jays, they are unbelievable. Cheyenne Allen.
Right.
Wow, he is unbelievable. And Caden Brand, I believe, is the other back. They've got a running game that is excellent.
This is shades of the early 2000s North Judson, San Pierre area football team. They are absolutely dominating on the ground, and they haven't needed to really pass the ball a lot because they're just flattening teams. When you have these two, and both of those running backs, if you've seen footage of them, they're almost like mirrors of each other. It is a 1-2 punch with equal force, and that is a really important thing to have in high school ball.
Yeah, and I was surprised last week, and I said it on the radio. I thought Knox, which is a bigger program, a 3A program, going into North Judson. I understand that that's a huge rivalry, but I thought that Knox would be on the board and make it a close game. Judson said, not in my house.
Nope, we're taking that one over. Another interesting one that I was looking at in the Great Lakes Athletic Conference is Rensselaer at West Lafayette. Now, West Lafayette is a power program. They have been the bane of the existence from some of these schools in Northwest Indiana because they've been running into West Lafayette. Do you think Rensselaer has what it takes to put some fight into West Lafayette?
I think anytime you get Coach Meeks coaching the Rensselaer team, you're going to have a quality program, which
Sure.
they do. And I think that's going to be a close game, although West Lafayette has kind of dominated this game. And, those Lafayette high schools, Lafayette Jeff,
Right.
West Lafayette, they are very strong, very dominant teams.
And people tend to not quite understand that the Lafayette general area, there's a lot of population there.
Yeah.
And there is a handful of different high schools down there. So they're actually split into smaller high schools oftentimes. Lafayette Jeff has a lot of that or not Lafayette Jeff. West Lafayette has a lot of that Purdue influence. That last year they had George Karloff, or 2 years ago they've had the Karloftis family go through there. They've had a whole bunch of folks that have been really powerful, and so this is a really good program. It's going to be interesting to see how Rensselaer stacks up.
You remember you mentioned the young man Karloftis.
Right.
He's now playing for the Kansas City Chiefs.
He is.
And I just read an article that said the Chiefs love him.
Yeah.
It was a steal. His enthusiasm and his, hard hitting stuff. That's just amazing. So yeah, you're right. The Lafayette area is a very strong area.
All right, we're going to actually go ahead and talk to Reed Amons here for an update from Michigan City at Maryville. Reed, how's it going out there?
So far, so good. We've had beautiful weather just about every week so far for high school football, and another beautiful night. And as we get right into the middle of conference play, we start to figure out, who's going to separate themselves. The cream starts to rise to the top, and people are battling for conference positions. So great game tonight. We got Michigan City traveling to Maryville, and the Pirates will be hosting the Wolves tonight.
Reed, what do you think about, Maryville played well last week, and what do you think their concept right now facing a Michigan City team that is struggling?
Yeah, and really Michigan City, I think we're still trying, in Northwest Indiana, we're trying to figure out who they really are. They play, open up with Warsaw in week one, who's got an excellent team this year, and of course they struggled a little bit with some high expectations coming into the season, and a couple weeks later they bounced back with a win over Chesterton, which, Chesterton was playing really well in the first couple weeks of the season, so that was a huge win for them. I think that caught a lot of people by surprise and raised some eyebrows in our area. And last week against Valparaiso, they get out to the quick lead, 14-0. Valparaiso comes back and ties it up in the second half, and then really kind of runs away with it in the second half of last week's game. So, really, who is Michigan City this year? And I think tonight will be a good measuring stick for both teams to find out where they're at. And what they want to prepare and get ready for the postseason with. And as you mentioned, teams have to be able to run the ball in Northwest Indiana for sure, and in high school football. So I think both teams are going to try to establish the run. And last week, Maryville did a really nice job of getting the ball to their playmakers in open space and getting some big plays against Portage. So I think really Maryville's going to look to control the line of scrimmage early, but look to hit those big plays for some quick drives and some big scores. So it should be a really entertaining game tonight. I think we're going to learn a lot about both teams and where they're at kind of here in the middle of the season, kind of a mid-season evaluation for both programs, really, I think, for both coaches, Coach Cease, Coach Mason, very seasoned veteran coaches in our area. They're going to learn a lot, I think, about their teams tonight.
Okay, well, before we let you go, Reed, I got one more question.
Sure.
Are the Hoosiers going to be 3-0 after tomorrow?
I do like the Hoosiers hosting Western Kentucky tomorrow. We will see. It'll be a good measuring stick also for them here before we get into the real meat of the Big Ten season. But that is going to be a good game for the Hoosiers tomorrow to see, where they're, are they kind of upper half or lower half of their division. And, right now that East is awful tough, the Big Ten East with, I believe every team right now is undefeated, 2-0, heading in, or 3-0 for one squad, heading into this week. So I think IU's got a good shot, and if they play well, I think they have I think that they'll come out on top. And just like in the Duneland, for sure, you got to come ready to play every week because any team can beat any other. And I know you guys have mentioned that just about every week. You got to come prepared and make sure that you're ready to play. Limit the turnovers, limit the penalties, and put your best foot forward.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Reed. We're going to let you go. Looking forward to hearing more from you as the day progresses. And myself here as the fellow Purdue Boilermaker, we've had enough of this IU talk. We're going to go ahead and take a break on 89.1 FM, The Lakeshore.
Game night on 89.1 FM, The Lakeshore, listener-supported public radio.
Lakeshore Public Radio's fiscal year comes to an end on September 30th. We've fallen short of fundraising goals to date, but when you donate today, you'll help us close the gap and allow the station to finish strong. It takes only a minute to strengthen Lakeshore Public Radio with your donation, but the power of your support will echo back to you every time you connect with this station in the months ahead. Please visit lakeshorepublicradio.org and make a donation today.
A new documentary tells the story of 4 men who escape economic chaos in their home country of Zimbabwe, become refugees, and go on to become superstars in the world of, ready for this, high-end wine.
Wine is just a beverage, but you have to connect it with your culture, your upbringing, and your beliefs.
Bringing new perspectives to the world of wine. That's on the next All Things Considered from NPR News. Tune in at 4 p.m. for Weekend All Things Considered here on Lakeshore Public Radio.
A decade ago, Republican Congressman Bob Inglis changed his position on climate.
I am the guy who was wrong for 6 years in Congress.
But there were consequences.
In politics, it's considered a flip-flop. It's not considered a positive thing. That was the end of my career in Congress.
Deciding to change our minds. That's next time on the TED Radio Hour from NPR.
Tune in Saturday morning at 10 and Sunday morning at 11 here on Lakeshore Public Radio.
This is Game Night on 89.1 FM, The Lakeshore, listener-supported public radio. And now, the Game Night broadcast team.
Welcome back, and we'd like to start off this section with thanking Jessica Wilosinski, the owner of Stefano's Pizza in Crown Point, for feeding the entire Game Night crew tonight. Stefano's, the home of the Sauce Boss, makes some of the best homemade dough and sauce around. Jessica will be celebrating her 8th anniversary as the owner of Stefano's Pizza, November 16th. Stefano's Pizza is located at 10709 Randolph Street in Crown Point, just outside of Lake of Four Seasons. You can call 219-663-6656 to place your order for Game Night Pizza. 219-663-6656. Order your pizza on the way home from the game. It is outstanding.
Oh, it really hit the spot. I really enjoyed it. And I also wanted to thank NIPSCO for all they've done for us. They've been a longtime partner of Lakeshore Public Television and radio, and they've done an excellent job of helping us, A, keep the lights on, but B, perform this program that we all love. And I just wanted to remind one thing. We are nearing the end of Lakeshore Public Radio Fall Membership Drive. If you would like to make a donation towards the programming that we do, we have you can always visit at lakeshorepublicradio.org/give or call 877-910-8989.
And I should note we actually have a big super fan for public radio on the phone lines right now. They're on hold. We won't get to them yet, but really quick, for the listeners out there who maybe don't listen during the regular part of the programming schedule, Monday through Friday, you tune in for game night, you love high school football. This is a program that it's all about Northwest Indiana. There is no national news. There is no international news. Maybe you're getting some IU and some Purdue football updates, some Big Ten action, maybe a little MACtion here in a couple of weeks when Ball State really gets rolling. Go Ball State and Boone Grove. Oh boy, long football season for me. But you're getting the updates from Hobart. You're getting the updates from Valpo and Chesterton, from Maryville, from a surprisingly good Munster team, right? We're talking rivalries this week with Chesterton and Valpo. We've got Boone and what's that other
Wheeler.
school? Who are they? Wheeler. Yes, Wheeler. It's homecoming this week for Crown Point as they take on Portage and the Duneland. So many things happening across the high school football landscape every single week. Game night has been on the air since day one. So this radio station started in January of 2009. I was sitting right here at the same board, 14 years ago. And game night, week one, in August of 2009, it has been the one show, the one steady constant through all of the changes in programming, all of the changes in personnel, all of the changes in hosts and in correspondence and everything else. But game night has been there, and it's been there because of the support of the folks in Lowell. It's been there because of the support from the folks in Crown Point. It's been there because of the support all over Northwest Indiana. So if this is a program that you listen to regularly, that you love, that you need to tune into, we ask that you make a pledge of support. We are a public radio station, so when you want to go ahead and make sure that game night's here for the next 14 years so Wayne never leaves this studio, give us a pledge of support. lakeshorepublicradio.org/give. There's a pretty good chance you're already listening to the stream right now. Click on that donate button on the website as well. Become a member today. Help support game night. And you know what? I might just tell Wayne to give you a call. Make a pledge, and I'll make Wayne give all the thank you calls here for everybody who makes a pledge of support. Ben, too. I'll make Wayne and Ben give all the thank you calls here. So if you call
I'm fine
up,
with that.
$5, $1, $25, $100, whatever it is you want to donate, Wayne and Ben are going to call you. If you donate more than say $1,000, I think dinner's on the table.
Oh sure, yeah.
I think dinner's on the table with Wayne and Ben. We could talk.
I would be more.
I'll talk with your agents. All right.
I'd be more than happy to have somebody buy me dinner.
Sure, yeah, that works. So speaking of someone who's been here from the very beginning, just like our radio show, we've got Gary Graben on the line, giving us the best in Northwest Indiana. Gary, what's going on out there?
What's going on, fellas? A couple of things. I'm not sure Wayne calling people is going to increase donations, but that's just an observation. That's just an observation from the outside. Secondly, I want to piggyback on what Tom just said. When I go to schools throughout Northwest Indiana, it is so great when people come up and say, hey, 89.1, I just had you on the parking lot, just had you on, we watch you guys when you're on the TV side, all the stuff that goes with it. But now's your time to really show that you stand with us. And we need you to stand with us because this show is a show that we put on every week. We have a lot of volunteers. We are a minimum budget on this show. And if you want this kind of coverage to continue, we know the newspapers have really changed their coverage of high school sports. But if you want this kind of coverage to continue, not only with our correspondents all throughout Northwest Indiana, but interviews with coaches, players after the game, all that, we need to know that you are with us. So if you are listening and you like year after year that the Lakeshore is on, even when you disagree with things like a top 10 list, again, not calling anybody out, but that kind of thing, we need to know that you're in support with us. So please find a way to donate support. Again, as Tom just said, it doesn't matter what the amount. We just want to know that you're out there supporting us.
And, people are out there supporting, Gary. And in fact, just to prove that, today I came into work and I had a very nice little note that was sent to me from a young man that Stephen Kasich from Lafayette.
I know Stephen. He's a student of mine.
Yes, I know Stephen. He's a nice guy.
And a very nice complimentary note. And but at the very end of it, he said, just remember, Gary is not always right.
Well, again, do you want me to really talk about what he was like as a student?
Hey, Steve's a great guy. We're going to vouch for him, Gary. We don't know so much about you.
Steve is a great guy, actually, and he's a big fan of, NPR in general. And when he moved back here, he's been a big fan of what happens here at the Lakeshore, and so we appreciate that he listens and he reaches out. And he is a donor. He does support the station, so he is not just all talk. He actually is somebody who supports the station, even when he's woefully wrong in statements like the one he made at the end of the letter.
All right, Gary, what do you got going on out there today?
Well, again, the big focus for me this week is Chesterton and Valpo. This is one of those games, Ben, you know it well. This is two teams that are going a little bit in different directions. Chesterton won in week 1 against Hobart, and then it has been a rough go from that point on a little bit here. Valpo, on the other hand, actually has after a loss in week 1, has really started to turn it on. Now, the question tonight is a little bit who's going to be at quarterback for Valpo. Justin Clark, the junior who's been at the helm here, got a little dinged up last week. Just in the last half hour or so, I talked to someone on the inside who told me that it's a 50-50 chance tonight. Ian Wilson, the senior, got a lot of the snaps this week at practice, so we'll see what that, if it happens, will change for Valpo. But again, this is a rivalry game, so teams that Chesterton had a really brutal loss last week, but it really doesn't matter once the fireworks go off before the game tonight, that this is one of those games where it doesn't take much motivation to get ready. So ordinarily I'd be concerned that Valpo has two of their biggest games of the year the next 2 weeks, or coming up with Crown Point, coming up with Maryville. But I think, Ben, you can attest that Valpo would never overlook Chesterton, would they?
Oh, of course not. We keep saying rivalry game. And these two communities are very close to each other. They're separated by Route 6 there, and that's about it. When I was playing this game, I knew people on obviously your teammates, but I knew people on the Chesterton team. We are so close in communities that we are ingrained within each other, and that rivalry runs deep. And now they're playing for the last few years a milk jug painted half Valpo colors, half Chesterton colors, and Valpo's been in control of that for the past few years. And unless Chesterton starts getting their momentum going forward a little bit, I think that's going to stay in Valpo's hands.
Well, I think, again, when we see where the momentum is right now, and this game, of course, is in Valpo, Valpo has a lot more in place, it seems, right now than Chesterton does. Chesterton's using 2 quarterbacks. You wonder at some point in time if they're going to have to settle here on one. Garrett Lewis, the running back, the all-purpose guy, has been both receiving and running hard. He's a junior, 6'1", 195. But again, I think in his case here, it's Chesterton just being a little more mistake-free as they move forward. We know what's happening at Valpo, that, again, this team has turned it around since week 1. But this is a very good test. And Chesterton, the same we just talked about Valpo, they know this is a rivalry game too, and they want to get their hands on that milk jug.
I'm looking at the chart here, Gary, and you're also going to be put on your Superman cape and fly over to the Inferno. What are you looking at at Hobart and Lowell?
Well, again, we have talked week after week. After the injury to Malachi James in week 1 for Lowell, they have really just had one weapon, and it's Riley Bank. And Riley has been doing it all. He's a man's man kind of guy, 6 foot tall, 200 pounds, very tough, physical running quarterback who can pass a little bit too. But we know over the years with Lowell, when Lowell is good, it's a quarterback, and it's usually 2 running backs stepping up. Owen Thiel has been stepping up a little bit for Lowell, but they need more. they need more if they're going to compete here in the Crossroads Conference, because this team right now is a little bit too one-dimensional, a little bit too predictable. So a little bit more on that side. For Hobart, I think we're still waiting to see the vintage Hobart put it together. You know, they had the win at Culver, and they handled Culver, but again, it just still hasn't been this Hobart team we're used to, where the defense is stifling and the offense takes control with their physicality. So I'm still waiting to see more out of the Brickies as we move forward here. But again, another game, the word rivalry, as you guys have been talking about tonight, these are two teams that know each other very well, and there's certainly enough dislike on each side here, respectful dislike on each side, that this is a game that you don't have to you give the Newt Rockne speech. You just have to show that you see the other uniform on the side of the field and you're ready to play.
Right, the motivation's already there, and
absolutely.
You had already mentioned earlier today, or earlier in your little segment here, is the top 10 lists, and
my favorite 5 minutes of the week.
So we've already mentioned some of the teams that are on that list. We're not going to say what order they're in, but we're going to start with the little 5. What do you got there, Wayne?
I've got number 5 is Knox. Knox didn't play very well last week against North Judson, but they are 2-2, and you know you're going to get better if your Radke is your coach. That's for sure. So right now they're number 5 in the little 5. I like West Central. I was surprised at their loss last week. They're 3-1, but again, you know, Chuck DeMoss had talked about the fact that this might have been a surprise loss for them last week. I like at number 3, River Forest. I really think that this Silver at quarterback has done an outstanding job. He can play any position, and he's just really done a great job for River. And then at number 2, it's Rensselaer. Rensselaer 3-1 on the season. Now they travel to West Lafayette. And we've talked about that already.
Right.
That's going to be a tough game for them. And then you've got the Jays, the Blue Jays, the North Judson Blue Jays, 4-0, just dominant down there. And, boy, I'm really impressed with that program and Cheyenne Allen and, Caden Brand.
Gary, do you have any qualms with that little 5?
Well, this is the same talk we had 2 weeks ago. What does North Judson have to prove to get into the top 10?
They've looked awfully impressive so
far. They
have
mowed, so it's like the Hanover story in rerun. They are mowing everybody down. But again, apparently Wayne doesn't want to eat and be welcomed in North Judson, so he makes these kind of decisions. Has to stay out of Cedar Lake, has to stay out of North Judson.
Same thing with two straight wins for Boone Grove, and they don't crack it either.
Well, again, and you control his paycheck, Tom, so you've got more influence.
I do. He's not welcome in southern Porter County.
Where's he going to go? He's just going to be able to drive to Highland into the station pretty soon.
That's about it. All right, well, so let's move on from the little 5 and go into the top 10. A little bit of a shakeup here, but let's see what we got.
Number 10, Lake Central Indians are 2-2 on the season, and they have played 500 ball. I don't think that they have dominated. Could they beat a North Judson? Probably, just because of the size of the school and the depth that they would have. But still, I think that they're number 10. Number 9, I like Hammond Central. They're 3-1. They have not played the Valpos and things.
They have played.
They have.
They did play Valpo.
That's their loss. Too.
That's their one loss.
Yeah,
but other than that, they've played they've played the schedule that's been put in front of them. They've been taking care of it.
Now they're new to the top 10. Then we got Kankakee Valley at 3-1. They are number 8 on the list. And I think Kirk Kennedy is really doing a nice job down there. I love the job he does. 7 is some team from Cedar Lake. I don't know. Hanover Central, I think that is. 4-0 on the season. They are dominant, and they're going to be better because now their quarterback, Matt Kuntz, is back, and that just gives them another dimension. Number 6, right above them, right over the top of them, right next to them, is the Calumet Warriors. Calumet is amazing. We talked about this last week. Their quarterback, Andrew Markham, 1,008 yards. The first quarterback in the area to hit 1,000. 14 touchdowns. The receiver, Ty.J. Caldwell, 10 touchdowns, leads the area. They lead the area in sacks. They lead the area in, I believe, points scored. I'm trying to look at that. Oh, no, tackles. Alex Ponce, 58. Calumet Warriors, number 6 in the big boy poll. Moving on, Hobart is number 5. They're 2-2, and I think they're coming back. They had a great second half last week. I think that was the turning point for them. Watch out, Devils. Number 4 is Andrean, 59ers. Drake is still going to Notre Dame, even though we haven't won yet. But I really like Andrean. They have so much offense. Maryville is number 3 at 3-1. Valpo is number 2 at 3-1. And the Crown Point Bulldogs, 4-0, are number 1.
Well, I can't argue with number 1, that's for sure. Some of the other in there, Maryville and Valpo, they're probably pretty similar. Andre and Hobart, probably pretty similar. Calumet and Hanover Central, that's kind of an interesting one. What do you think, Gary?
Well, I think Hanover has an edge over Calumet there. Calumet's a great story, but again, they haven't really played anybody yet for us to see. They play River in, I believe, Week 8 and Hanover in Week 9. So we're going to learn a lot about Calumet at that point in the schedule. I think until then, they're a little bit of an unknown quantity. And then no love for the old Munster Mustangs, Wayne?
Boy, they were close. They really were. But I was going to put them at 10 ahead of Lake Central, but then I realized Lake Central beat them.
There you go.
And notice, Gary, I don't know if you noticed, no Michigan City or Chesterton.
Really? Well, I would say that's probably very prudent after some of the performances. So I think that loss last week for Chesterton was very rough, losing at Laporte. I mean, they were a heavy favorite, and I think that's a difficult loss for them to take there. So, as always, we could punch a lot of holes in it, but, we'll see how the games play out.
And
I think it's perfect.
Right. And you see a lot of these strange records early in the season, the 2s and the 500 records. But you got to keep in mind, every single game someone has to lose, and when you only play a handful of them, those records get a little bit wonky. But we're in a situation now where they're playing. The wins are starting to rack up. Teams are starting to really get into the stride of things, and it's definitely a circumstance that we're starting to see this top 10 become a little more fleshed out.
Well, I think when you talk about all the conference play starting, that's where the rubber meets the road here. When you're playing teams that know you well and you have to execute well to win, I think this is where we see really who the better teams are.
I tend to agree with you. So, all right, Gary, thanks for your updates. We're looking forward to hearing all your Superman updates from multiple spots, and looking forward to hearing from you throughout the night.
Hey, real quick, 2 things, Ben.
Sure.
Tomorrow night, Calumet College starts their sprint football season. And sprint football, for people who are not familiar with, there's a weight limit. It's like 178 or 180. So you have to be under that weight. It's for smaller players. But we have a lot of region kids who are going to make their debut playing small college football for Cal College tomorrow night. If you're interested, that game is at Ray Gallivan Field in Whiting.
So is there no offensive? Is it no line? Is it kind of like flag football?
No, it's tackle football. It's just with smaller guys. As a matter of fact, Blaze Kano is one of the players on the team.
Oh, wow.
So we have a lot of region kids. Jay Novak, the old coach from East Chicago, is the coach there. And so he has put this together after they decided to expand. And it does give a chance for a lot of the smaller guys to play. So we wish them well. And a shout-out real quick, my friend Diane, who actually works in my doctor's office. I learned she is a listener of our show every week. So a shout-out to Diane for all she does for everybody, and she's done for me and my family. So I appreciate
Diane.
that.
Thanks for being friends with Gary. We appreciate that. And
she's the one.
That's hard work.
It is. It's a taxing thing to be friends with Gary, but we all love it and we do it, and it's all rewarding in the end because we all know that Gary's always right and he always gives you the right advice. So
again, Wayne, you thought that was a perfect top 10, huh? Okay. Okay.
Perfect.
Wow. I think you thought week one's was a perfect one too.
Well, see how
Maybe we should
easily
take a look at that one.
See how easily I am influenced by some people in the area.
All right, Gary, thanks so much.
Guys.
We'll be looking forward to hearing from you.
Hey, another beautiful night too. We're going to be great.
Yes, sir.
We'll see you.
See ya. So we haven't had that rain night. I'm not going to speak it into existence, but it seems like the weather has cooperated for quite a bit of this season so far. Pretty much picture perfect almost every week here, and it's led to some really impressive performances here by some local some local talent here. And one thing that I wanted to highlight is some of the offensive players. Who'd you have your eyes on this week?
Well, Travis Davis from Valparaiso has just made a huge impact for their team. 4 TDs last week, 125 yards versus Michigan City, and he has really stepped up. Now, people who watch high school football in Northwest Indiana know that Valpo has consistently had very, very good running backs.
Right.
This young man waited his turn, and now he's showing that he is the real deal.
So he had 4 touchdowns out of 5. This is in a come from behind victory, so that he is absolutely a key point of that game. Another key player is Anthony Ponce from Calumet.
He also had 4 TDs and 121 yards versus Whiting. And, this is why I am so impressed with what Calumet is doing. I know, that some people, I won't mention who, don't think that they played the schedule that others do. But like you said, Ben, somebody has to win.
Right.
And, I would rather win, and play a decent team than maybe lose to a really, really good team.
Another player is Kyle Hasley from Hanover Central. He had 3 touchdowns, not 4, but 3. It's still incredibly impressive. 115 yards versus River Forest.
Yeah, Kyle has a known commodity. He was outstanding last year. Certainly Kevin Driscoll, who is at Griffith to do the correspondence for us and talk about the Hanover Central team. He knows Hasley. He's not only an offensive player, he's a defensive player. In fact, last week, I think he had 3 touchdowns and 1 interception for a TD. This young man is real. He is excellent. And Hanover Central has a good one.
Going from a smaller school to a larger school, someone from Chesterton you had your eye on someone from Chesterton.
Yeah, Sebastian Boswell. Again, Chesterton, last year had Chris Mullen. He was an outstanding quarterback. Moved on to college. I think he's playing at in Indiana, down in Indianapolis.
UIndy, right?
Yeah, UIndy. But this young Boswell young man has played well for Chesterton. Now, they lost last week. I understand Chesterton did. But Boswell had 2 TDs and 158 yards versus Laporte.
Billy Henry from Andrean, we've already talked about him, but he had 3 touchdowns against East Chicago.
Yeah, he did, and he's really taken over that quarterback spot. We've talked about that. He understands the leadership role. He knows where the ball should be going. Drake Bowen. Right. So that's good. He's outstanding.
Yeah, keep this in mind. He's going to continue to grow, and he's going to continue to mature in that role. Even though he is an upperclassman, he's new to that role, but he's also been practicing it all season, and he's got those game reps now. He's starting to really become a force on the offense there for the 59ers. And going from the offense, let's start talking about defense a little bit. That's my side of the ball. Defensive players of the week, there's
Marquez Dabney.
No, yeah, that's great.
Right. And from Michigan City, he had a pick 6. I always love when those defensive players not only intercepted, but they take it back to the house.
Take it back to the house. It was the first or second play from scrimmage, as a matter of fact.
That's right.
So that is they jumped out to a strong lead there early, but couldn't muster much after that. But still in a really impressive play by Dabney there.
And the next 2, Ben, are just kind of indicative of how tough the defenses are that are playing in high school today. Valparaiso had 420 total yards offensively against Michigan City, but Michigan City only had 132 total yards.
Right.
That's one heck of a defensive effort.
And the way that happens is the opening kickoff was returned for a touchdown, and then the second play from scrimmage was a pick six
by Michigan City.
Both of those were of the same team, and that accounted for 100% of their scoring.
Yeah, and then you've got Hanover playing River Forest. I thought this was going to be a close game. I like River Forest. They're in our Little Five, and they're 3-1. But Hanover had 404 total yards. River had 109.
Hanover is actually, in my opinion, more impressive than we're giving them credit for. They are a steamroller on offense right now, so I am not shocked that they put up this amount of yards. But they're also really tough on defense, handling River Forest to only 109 total yards. That's pretty impressive in itself.
Yeah, it really is.
So there's every week we talk about some unknown players. We had an unknown player from Calumet.
Yeah, Andrew Markham from Calumet had 2 TDs and 285 yards total yards against Whiting. And as I said before, he leads the area with over 1,000 yards and 14 total touchdowns. This young man is no longer unknown.
He's definitely on the scene, that's for sure. Another player that's potentially bursting onto the scenes is Landon Delich from Crown Point.
Yeah, and one of the reasons is that he's so darn versatile.
Right.
He had 1 touchdown on offense against Lake Central, and he had an interception touchdown against Lake Central. You love those kids that can go both ways, you know?
Absolutely. That's the type of athlete that you need, and when you have a circumstance where your team is filled with talent and filled with production, you can just add another one to the list. And adding another one to the list to a different team that's absolutely loaded is John Peters from Maryville.
You know, it's really tough. You just said that, and I totally agree. Maryville is loaded. We've heard the Justin Marshalls. We've heard the, Jalen Thomas, and we've heard of Trey Stevens.
Right.
But John Peters? Who is that? Well, they had a great article in the Times this week, and John stepped up, and he had 2 TDs and 92 yards versus Portage. And when you think of the talent Maryville has, once they get everything clicking, boy, are they going to be tough.
Oh, absolutely. They're tough right now. Their only hiccup so far was a shootout game against Crown Point, where they were actually leading by 2 scores. So Maryville's a good squad right now. I think that there's plenty more in the tank, and now that some of these talented individuals are expanding their role and finding the way to affect the game, it's nothing but fortuitous for the Maryville Pirates.
You look at a special teams player of the week, and this is sometimes hard to find in a paper. That's why our correspondents are so great at giving us, who scored and the yardage for field goals and stuff like that. I really appreciate that. Cameron Bell from Michigan City took the opening kickoff 85 yards for a TD versus Valparaiso.
Really impressive. If you watched our television show, it was really a highlight where he weaved his way through the initial line of defense and then found a huge hole, and it was nothing but long strides and speed, and he took it all the way to the end zone.
And Wally Coons for Hanover recovered a fumble on a kickoff and rolled into the end zone against River Forest. Then Owen Denny from Lake Central had a 31-yard field goal versus Crown Point.
31-yard field goal. We have always said that the most undervalued person on the high school football team is the kicker. They can be the difference between a victory and a defeat. They are the most unsung heroes here for some of these teams in Northwest Indiana. So it's really nice to see Owen Denny hit a nice, pretty respectable 31-yard field goal.
Yeah, darn right.
So Wayne, we've highlighted some of the games here, and we're getting ready to reach the 7 o'clock hour. So we'll take a break here in a little bit. But what are some of the games that are standing out to you today?
Well, I think we've gone over some of them. The Chesterton at Valpo, certainly a grudge match there. I like the fact that Michigan City and Maryville, they always have a tough game, but I don't know. This is at Maryville, so that could be, a tough one. Certainly, the Hobart-Lowell, I don't care what the record is. Hobart and Lowell will give us a great game tonight, and we're going to find out a lot about them also. And then, the Munster team. I mean, I like what they're doing on this season. I like the fact that they're 3-1.
Sure.
But I think this is the second real test.
Right.
Lake Central was first. Now, this one at KV is the second real test.
Absolutely. And you got to keep in mind, every team is going to be tested at some point. Normally, once you start getting into the thick of conference season is when these tests start to come. But secondly, you're eventually going to hit someone in sectionals or even regionals that's going to give you some resistance. It's going to be interesting to see how the Mustangs match up today.
And you know what? When people look at this, and I know at the beginning of the season, some of the Munster graduates from that school may have been questioning, Munster and
sure.
Are they capable? They went against Griffith, and Griffith has had Munster's number for a long time.
Right.
And they beat Griffith, and really, I thought that was a surprise, and I thought that their confidence level really started to show in that game.
As it should. Their coaching staff has done a really great job of putting the pieces in place to where they can positively affect the game. There's no need to take this random offense that you would run and then just force a player into it. What they're doing is they're finding the right people, getting them the ball, finding the playmakers on defense, putting them in space, and making sure that they can affect the game positively.
And probably the next one is I didn't realize, that Boone Grove and Wheeler was such a huge game.
Oh, sure.
And last week, Matt Rowland had 1 TD and 124 yards for Boone Grove versus Bishop Knoll. This is really a bigger game probably for Boone than Wheeler, just as a proving point. They're out of 2. They've won their last 2 games.
Right.
They come into a Wheeler team who is good,
sure.
especially at home. If they can pull out a win here, Boone Grove could be looking at a little 5.
They could be, which is kind of strange because earlier in the season they struggled mightily, but sometimes that happens. As the weeks progress, teams improve, and Boone Grove has that opportunity to take care of this. Now, Boone Grove is the newer program. Both of these are relatively new programs over the last, just couple, 10, 15, 20 years. But Boone Grove is the newer team, and they have an opportunity to really make a name for themselves by, defeating Wheeler here.
I totally agree. And certainly we talked about North Judson and Winamac.
Right.
North Judson goes to Winamac, so that's a big deal. And also, this is a Saturday game, but Morton at Westside.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. Hammond Morton is a team that has had some struggles this year. Westside's doing all right, and it's going to be interesting to see how they pull things out there and how they match up.
I totally agree.
So we were talking earlier about the number 1 team, the Crown Point Bulldogs. We haven't really mentioned much about them today. They've got Portage. Portage is going to be the underdog here. I think the Crown Point's going to be the heavy favorite. What are you looking for from Crown Point?
Well, Crown Point has to have that consistency. They can't overlook this game. They've got some tough ones down the road here, but Crown Point cannot overlook Portage.
No.
Portage has given them in the past. They've given them some good games, but this year I think that Crown Point's ability to run the football and Crown Point's ability to throw it with J.J. Johnson is going to be the key. Portage cannot get down big early, or they're going to close up the lights early.
Well, yeah, with that heavy offensive line and the ability to run the ball, I think it's going to be really interesting. So we are approaching kickoff time, and we are approaching time to take a break, and it's we're going to go ahead and get you on the next segment and give you some updates from some scores from 89.1 FM, the Lakeshore.
This is Game Night on 89.1 FM, the Lakeshore, listener-supported public radio.
Lakeshore Public Radio's fiscal year comes to an end on September 30th, and the Crown Point Community Foundation has generously proposed a $1 for $2 matching grant during this fall membership campaign. So we need your help right now to raise $10,000 and unlock an additional $5,000 grant from the Crown Point Community Foundation. So please, donate today at lakeshorepublicradio.org and help us finish strong. Thank you.
Ever since their debut, K-pop group Girls' Generation has set new standards for their industry. 15 years later, they've put out a new album while their very first single is being sung on the front lines of protests.
Not every K-pop group's name ends up kind of being prophetic, but it really does feel like it was kind of Girls' Generation for this long while.
The legacy of Girls' Generation, next time on It's Been a Minute from NPR.
Sunday afternoon at 3 here on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM.
And now, your Game Night Scoreboard update.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the first Scoreboard up tonight. Let's take a look and see where everybody is. Chesterton is traveling to Valpo to take on the 3-1 Vikings, coming in at 1-3. The Portage Indians are traveling to Crown Point and taking on the Bulldogs at 4-0, and Portage is 1-3. Laporte travels to Lake Central to take on the Indians at the Burial Ground. All these games starting at 7 o'clock. The Michigan State Wolves are traveling to Maryville to take on the Pirates. Hobart takes on Lowell down at the Inferno tonight. Highland takes on Andrean at Andrean. Munster travels down to Kankakee to take on the Cougars. In the Greater South Shore Conference, we have Hanover taking on the Griffith Panthers at the Boneyard. Boone Grove travels to Wheeler to take on the Bearcats. Lake Station is at Bishop Knowles, so that game is happening in Hammond tonight. River Forest is playing Whiting on the lakefront. Calumet is traveling to East Chicago to take on the Cardinals. Tri-County is at South Noon tonight. Culver Military Academy takes on Brebu Jesuit. Is that how you guys say it? Brebuff. Thank you. North Noon is taking on West Central tonight. Knox takes on Glenn. We'll also be covering the Morton Governors at Westside Cougars game. Pioneer taking on Hammond Central at Hammond Central. West Lafayette is coming up to play Rensselaer. And then Calumet Christian is playing Bowman. For Lakeshore Game Night, I'm Andrew Johnson.
This is Game Night on 89.1 FM, the Lakeshore, listener-supported public radio.
Lakeshore Public Radio's fiscal year comes to an end on September 30th. We've fallen short of fundraising goals to date, but when you donate today, you will help us close the gap and allow the station to finish strong. It takes only a minute to strengthen Lakeshore Public Radio with your donation, but the power of your support will echo back to you every time you connect to this station in the months ahead. Please visit lakeshorepublicradio.org and make a donation today.
No one knows, 'cause no one sees it on TV.
Songwriter extraordinaire James McMurtry is back with us on the next Mountain Stage, and we'll hear new songs from Aoife O'Donovan, Natalie Hemby, and writer and song singer Heather Maloney. It's Mountain Stage.
Hi, this is James McMurtry. Join me this week in a live performance on Mountain Stage.
Tune in for Mountain Stage, Saturday night at 7, here on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM.
I was having reoccurring nightmares that thousands of cats were coming in from every window and door of my house, gonna scratch off my face, but...
Join us for more true stories told live. Dogs, cats, snakes, and more. That's on the Moth Radio Hour from PRX.
Tune in Saturday at noon and Sunday at 1 here on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM.
This is Game Night on 89.1 FM, The Lakeshore. Listener-supported public radio. And now, the Game Night broadcast team.
All right, Ben Kaldiski back with you with Tom Maloney, Wayne Sventnoff, and Andrew Johnson. And we wanted to say thank you to Jessica Wielosinki, the owner of Stefano's Pizza in Crown Point, for feeding the entire Game Night crew. Stefano's, the home of the sauce boss, makes some of the best homemade dough and sauce around. Jessica will be celebrating her 8th anniversary as the owner of Stefano's Pizza November 16th. Stefano's Pizza is located at 10709 Randolph Street in Crown Point, just outside of Lakes of the Four Seasons. You can call 219-663-6656 to place your order for Game Night Pizza. That's 219-663-6656. And it absolutely hit the spot pre-show here. I loved every bit of it. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Sauce boss, get your sauce boss.
It's gone back there.
Right, it's gone, boss. Bring some more, please.
We want to thank
the soft boss. That's good.
We want to also thank NIPSCO, for what they do. They've been with us for so long. I don't even know how many years. It's been amazing. They've supported the Game Night. They've supported PFR. They supported Scoreboard. And, we really appreciate them. They've been here. They not only keep on the lights, but they also keep up the support. And that's what we need, the support from people like you that are listening, support from people like NIPSCO, support from people like Stefano's Pizza, and all the wonderful people we have. I believe today, Tom, is the last day.
It is the last day of our fall membership drive. And remember, when we don't pay the NIPSCO bill, the lights go off. That's right, they go out. The microphones get turned off. Nothing works in here, right? Because we need NIPSCO, right? We just sure like we need you. And we're getting into a couple of calls here as the first quarter gets underway across Northwest Indiana. Just a reminder, if you listen to Game Night week in, week out, maybe you've been listening for the last 5 years, maybe you've been listening for the last 10 years, maybe you've been listening for the last 14 years, and you remember some of these guys like Kevin Driscoll as well. Of course, Chuck DeMoss, a longtime correspondent. We'll be getting into them in just a moment. Make that sustaining pledge of support. Go to lakeshorepublicradio.org/give.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that, and we're really hoping that you guys can help us out. We really appreciate all the help that you can give us. So we thank you for that. So their phone lines are starting to light up here a little bit. We've got Chuck DeMoss with an update at Munster and KV. Chuck, how are you doing out there?
Hey, I'm doing great, guys. We got a beautiful night here in Fred Jones Field, and got an exciting start on the opening kickoff. Loudon Fugit ran it back 97 yards for Kankakee Valley. The extra point was good. And that's where we stand right now. Kankakee Valley 7, Munster 0.
Chuck, give me that name again.
Loudon Fugit.
Loudon Fugit. All right.
97 yards.
97 yards, that's
Untouched.
impressive.
Nobody touched him. He ran untouched all the way. So it was a great run. And now Munster has the ball on their 24-yard line. It looks like it's 3rd and 8 with 10:36 to go in the first quarter.
So obviously, Chuck, there's been a lot of action early here. How has Munster looked with the ball?
Well, they just tried to complete a pass on 3rd down. It was incomplete, so it looks like they're going to have to punt on their first possession. This game, this is a statement game for both these teams. Coming in here, both of them 3-1, first conference game. After this, it doesn't get any easier for either one of these teams. Right. They got Andrean, Hobart, Lowell, and what's the other one? But they play all 4 of the same teams after this. So this game means a lot for both these teams because they want to get off to a conference start with a win.
I totally agree with you, Chuck. And, Kankakee Valley needs to prove that they're still in the top 10 after this week. Munster?
Yeah, I hope you didn't throw a jinx on them tonight by putting them in the top 10. But I know one thing for sure. You can go to Pulaski County and eat anytime you want by putting West Central in a little 5 at number 4. So I'm sure they'll welcome you down there.
All right, Chuck. One more time. What is the score and time update?
We have 10:15 to go in the first quarter, and the score is Kankakee Valley 7, Munster 0. KV has the ball on their 48-yard line.
All right, Chuck. Looking forward to hearing more from you. That's Chuck DeMoss.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, let's move from Chuck to Kevin Driscoll with an update of Hanover at Griffith. Kevin, what's going on out there?
We are 8:34 to go first quarter, and we are at the Boneyard in Griffith. Hanover is out to a 6-0 lead. Hanover won the toss, elected to defer, kicked off to Griffith to start the quarter. The kickoff was fumbled on the kickoff returned by the Wildcats at the Griffith Panther 21-yard line. 3 plays later, it was a Matt Kuntz 7-yard touchdown run. The extra point was no good, and that's where we stand. Griffith went 3 and out on their first possession. Hanover now has the ball at the 37 of Griffith, and they are driving once again. So that's where we stand. 8:11 to go. Hanover up 6-0 early on the Griffith Panthers.
So a bit of a fortuitous start for the Hanover Central Wildcats there.
That would be so, and you got to go looking at the game plan for Griffith. It's not surprising. This year they went back to a wishbone attack. Everything old is new again here at the Boneyard. That's how the stadium got its name, right? The wishbone. They are going triple option this year, and that would certainly be a good strategy against the Hanover offense to try to take the ball away, play keep away. It was something that Russ Radke, who now coaches at Knox, did successfully in sectional play last year. Kept the ball for the first 12 minutes of the game, in fact, last year. But, of course, Hanover is a quick strike offense and was able to get around that. Griffith does not have the passing attack that Russ Radke had last year in the sectionals, though.
All right, Kevin, thank you. One more time, what is the score and time update?
7:25 to go. Hanover leads 6-0. Hanover with the ball. Kyle Hasley with the carry down to the 22-yard line. Hanover driving once again early on first quarter.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate the update.
You got it.
All right. We're going to go from Kevin Driscoll to Andrew Avanich from Portage at Crown Point. Andrew, what's going on out there in Crown Point?
Yeah, man. It's just good old run the ball hard, They're just running the ball up the middle and taking wherever they want. They're playing solid defense. Portage is getting no yardage. Bulldogs are dominating so far. It looks like it's going to be an easy blowout.
Andrew, what's the score right now?
It is 7-0. Bulldogs are up.
How much time is left in the first quarter there?
We have 9 minutes and 25 seconds.
Andrew, who scored the touchdown?
We got the running back, J.J. Johnson at quarterback, handed it off.
Do you remember who they handed off to?
No, I didn't catch it.
Okay, is Taiwan still playing? Elijah Taiwan, is he on the field?
Elijah, yeah.
That's who scored?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Andrew, walk us through here. Who got the opening kick, and how did Crown Point get the ball back?
Crown Point just played solid defense. They stopped them 4 downs, and it was over. Crown Point just marched the ball down the field.
All right, Andrew, thank you much. Let's go ahead and one more time tell us the score and the time update here in the first quarter.
It is 7-0. Bulldogs up. 8 minutes and 54 seconds left in the quarter.
All right, thanks, Andrew. I appreciate the update. Looking forward to hearing from you.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
All right, of course. Thank you for volunteering your time. So it seems like there's been a lot of quick scores here, Wayne. It looks like these teams are coming out here and taking care of business early.
Yeah, and again, it might be the fact that some early play of nerves and stuff by other teams that nobody's marching down the field yet.
No,
that'll come up.
This is week 5. Early nerves in a game. You've already had your head smacked in for 4 weeks. There's no nerves. You know what you're getting into in week 5. Like, you're ready to go. A lot of these guys, it's opening conference play, right? Like, I mean,
is this the coach? As they come out of the opening kick and so through the tunnel, there it is.
Wayne, I'm going to be honest. I'm just bitter that Boone Grove didn't make your little 5. All right, that's all this is. That's all this is.
Well, if Boone Grove ends up winning tonight,
what do you mean if?
I have to be a non-biased observer here.
I got to be non-biased like the other 5 days of the week. I'm going to go ahead and put on my Boone Grove hat here during game night and my 30 seconds of airtime.
Fair enough, but Boone Grove has an argument to be made if they end up winning this game. Obviously a rivalry game, but there has been some to Wayne's point early today. There has been a little bit of jitters. Griffith fumbling the opening kickoff is not a good start. Hanover Central elected to defer and got the ball back on that same kick.
And KV had a 97-yard TD in the first minute of play.
Untouched.
Yes.
Right. Special teams have already loomed large, and we're only 15 minutes past the 7 o'clock hour, the kickoff time. So we're already seeing some tremendous big plays here. So that's going to be interesting. So right now we're going to go ahead and take a quick break and come back on the other side on 89.1 FM, the Lakeshore.
This is Game Night on 89.1 FM, the Lakeshore, listener-supported public radio.
As a nonprofit public broadcasting station, more than half of Lakeshore Public Radio's annual funding comes from local community support. That means we rely on donations from listeners like you to help power everything here on the station. And right now, your donation will help us raise $10,000 and unlock an additional $5,000 grant from the Crown Point Community Foundation. So please, don't wait. Visit lakeshorepublicradio.org and make a donation today. Thank you.
This week, a family band says farewell and hello at the very same time. Hey, I'm Elena C. I'll share a new single from the McCrary sisters, who got some help from their brother Alan recently. And folk icon John McCutcheon's got a new album out too. Plus, music to say goodbye to summer. Hope you can join me this week on Folk Alley.
Tune in for 2 hours of Folk Alley, Saturday nights at 11, here on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM.
Ever since their debut, K-pop group Girls' Generation has set new standards for their industry. 15 years later, they've put out a new album while their very first single is being sung on the front lines of protests.
Not every K-pop group's name ends up kind of being prophetic, but it really does feel like it was kind of Girls' Generation for this long while.
The legacy of Girls' Generation, next time on It's Been a Minute from NPR.
Sunday afternoon at 3, here on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM.
I'm Christopher Lydon. Next time on Open Source, you must remember this. Casablanca was all-time Hollywood, a slapdash miracle. Umberto Eco said it is many movies, maybe all movies. It's got bit players with big lines, an immigrant cast, and the heart of America in 1941. Play it again next on Open Source.
Tune in Saturday afternoon at 3 for Open Source here on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM.
This is Game Night on 89.1 FM, the Lakeshore, listener-supported public radio. And now, the Game Night broadcast team.
All right, Ben Kolzinski back with Tom Maloney and Wayne Sventnoff. The phone lines are lighting up once again. We're going to go ahead and throw it off to Reed Amons at Michigan City and Maryville. Reed, what's going on out there?
Over first possession of the ball game after 4 plays. The drive ends in a 37-yard touchdown run by Justin Marshall. The extra point was good. The total time off the clock was just under 2 minutes. But Maryville looks good and sharp here early in the game as they take a 7-0 lead over Michigan City. Home game for Maryville. There's 9:43 to go in the opening quarter. Maryville on top, 7-0.
So, Reed, how'd that drive go? You said it was mostly on the ground?
Then we had a first play run of about 7 yards for Justin Marshall. Then there was actually a crossing pattern pass that was also to Justin Marshall for about 30 yards, and then it culminated in a 37-yard touchdown run by Justin Marshall. He took the ball the rest of the way to the end zone.
All right, Reed, thank you much. We've got some calls stacking up behind you. One more time, what is the score update?
Yeah, Maryville's on top of Michigan City, 7-0. There's 9:35 to go here in the opening quarter.
All right, thank you, Reed. Appreciate the update. Looking forward to hearing more from you. All right, from Reed Amons, we're going to move on to Gary Graben. Gary, what's going on?
Out at the Inferno on Route 2, Hobart strikes first. Double-checking, believe it was Trey Gibson on a long run. Extra point good, 7-0 Hobart. But it didn't take Lowell long. The Riley Bank show continues in Lowell. Again, after a long run inside the 10, he was able to punch it in from 6 yards out, made a deposit, if you will. And the score is 7-7 with 7:58 to go in the first quarter. So out of the gate, both teams scoring here at Lowell.
Seems like it was a pretty quick back and forth there. It appears that these teams are being pretty efficient with the running game.
Yeah, a couple of big plays, one for each team here. And, again, we've talked about, everybody who plays Lowell knows that Riley Bank is going to be carrying the ball a lot. But even, the sign of a good player is even when people are geared to stop you, they don't. So Riley Bank with a good answer here for Lowell. And again, Lowell does not falling behind here. Could be a little fragile for Lowell tonight, so they need to hang in, and then in the fourth quarter probably be able to pull away and have a chance for a little bit of an upset here. But I do think Riley Bank, again, is going to get the yeoman's share here tonight.
Gary, I'd be watching the kickers tonight and be really interested if either team has an advantage where, one kicker maybe looks a little bit more solid than the other, because this is going to be what I'm envisioning, a back and forth type of game. One person scores and another person. So right now it's 7-7. So I think that the kickers might play a big role here.
Surprisingly lucid comment there, Wayne. That is a very, very good possibility here tonight. Because Caden Britton is a good kicker for Lowell. I have not seen Hobart this year, so don't know as much about their kicking game. But Caden Britton is good. And remember, the Lowell field is not exactly a smooth bed of roses there. It is a lumpy field where I think the home kicker does have an advantage. So if it comes down to the end, that might favor Lowell at the end of this game.
Many people have said my middle name is Lucid, but I don't know if that's true or not.
Really? Wow. Wayne Lucid Stefanov?
Yeah.
Anyways, Gary, one more time, what are the updates on the scores?
Nothing yet out of Valpo and Hobart and Lowell. Each team with a quick early strike here, 7-7 with 7:58 to go.
All right, Gary, thank you much.
All right, see you, Lucid. See you, Ben.
Appreciate your updates there. We're going to go back to Portage at Crown Point with Andrew Ivanich. Andrew, what's going on?
You just have Crown Point doing what they've been doing the whole game, playing good defense, now allowing Portage to advance the ball. Right now, Portage has the ball. Crown Point just scored. A few minutes ago, Brandon Marshall throw from J.J. Johnson.
That was a pass?
Yes, a pass.
Did you know how far that pass was?
It was about 30, I want to say about 30.
About 30-yard pass from J.J. Johnson to who caught it?
Marshall.
Marshall caught it. So the score right now is 14-0?
14-0, yeah, Bulldogs.
So Portage has the ball. What is Portage doing with the ball right now?
Portage just ran the ball.
Are they marching at all? Where are they at on the field?
They're at the 50 mark, about a bit behind.
Okay, so they gotten a couple first downs here and there? Are they moving the ball?
Yeah, they've gotten a couple of first downs. Crown Point's been holding them. They haven't been able to get to the 50-yard mark so far the whole game.
Okay. All right, excellent. Thank you, Andrew. We've got a call behind you. One more time, what is the score update?
14-0, 5 minutes left in the quarter.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate the update. All right. So we're going to go from Andrew to Kevin Driscoll with an updated Hanover. Kevin, what's going on?
Sure, I want to build a little bit of drama here. The last time Hanover Central lost a Greater South Shore Conference game in the regular season, that was in 2020 at the Boneyard, at Griffith, a 35-8 loss. A little revenge coming up tonight for Coach Brian Parker. Hanover is out to a 19-0 lead here. It's 3:53 to go in the first quarter. 3 possessions, 3 touchdowns. Right now, the total offensive yards, Hanover leading the battle 126-8. Griffith has gone 3 and out on 2 possessions, and they fumbled the opening kickoff. So all Hanover here tonight thus far from the Boneyard. I swear I'm not calling you after every touchdown tonight.
That's evident because you scored 2 since the last time they were there. So Hanover, who scored the 2 touchdowns for Hanover since we last spoke?
I should probably give you some love. Matt Kuntz has a touchdown run and a touchdown pass thus far. Kuntz is the starter for the first time this season. He was the incumbent, but of course he was recovering from an injury. He threw a 22-yard touchdown pass to Caden Verrett on the second possession, ran it in from 7 yards on the first possession, and just a few moments ago, Kyle Hasley with a 43-yard touchdown run.
All right, appears to not be a whole lot of rust there for Matt Kuntz, and really impressive. So, Kevin, the score is 19-0. So, what is? How did we reach 19? Was there another missed PAT?
Yeah, we had a botched snap on the first PAT try, and then just a bad kick on the second one. So, a couple of missed extra points, which has been rare actually this year. Kyle Brower has been very effective. In fact, tied for third in the state on kick scoring, as a matter of fact. Been pretty accurate, but a little sloppy tonight, but made that third one.
Yeah, if you're going to miss extra points, you want it to be while you're up 3 scores. So I guess that's a good thing. All right, Kevin, one more time. What is the score and time?
2:20 to go on homecoming here at the Boneyard, and the home team trails 19-0 to Hanover.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Appreciate the update. Looking forward to hearing more from you.
God bless.
All right, you as well. All right, it seems like there's a lot of action going on in Northwest Indiana already. A lot of updates, already multiple updates from Crown Point, and we've got more callers calling in here real soon. It's been pretty exciting here so far. So, Coach, what are you thinking about the action so far?
I really think that Hanover is playing very, very well at this point in the season. They just look like they really have it going. And this is a situation where, boy, I hate to jump way ahead, but I just can't wait for Calumet and Hanover.
It's going to be a good game.
Yes, it is.
It's going to be a good game, and something's going to probably have to give there. The way I'm projecting that game out is probably going to be 2 undefeated teams going at it later in the season.
It very well could be. I would love to get a score update of this Boone Grove and Wheeler. Tim Hogan is doing that game. He's one of our correspondents. So, Tim, if you're out there, if you want to call in and give us a update on how big the lead is for Wheeler.
He's not calling because Boone Grove's got the lead right now. That's why. That's why he's not calling.
It's definitely an anxious set of circumstances here in studio. We've got our Boone Grove fandom that is anxious to see what the score is for that one, but that's going to be an interesting one. And then I'm interested in what's going on in Valpo and Chesterton. That's another big game.
Yeah, I am too. That's a big rivalry, and Valpo can put up some points. I'm really, if Justin Clark is hurt, that concerns me. I know they've got 2 quarterbacks,
sure,
but Clark is a very good runner.
Sure.
Maybe not as good a passer, but he can run the football. And with Valparaiso's offensive line, they're going to open up holes.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, it'll be very interesting to see how that one goes. One good game we have going on right now, we've got Bradley Dorsey covering Lake Station at Bishop Knoll. Bradley, what's going on up there in Hammond?
Hey, everyone. Hey, guys. So the game started with Bishop Knoll kicking the ball off to the Eagles. They started on their own 39. And number 1, McIntyre ran for 40 yards for an Eagles touchdown, and is now 6-0. They went for the 2-point conversion, and they did not get it. And on the ensuing drive, Bishop Knoll took the ball from their own 20 all the way down to the Eagles' 10-yard line, and then got sacked out of field goal range and was forced to punt.
Wow. Who scored the touchdown for Lake Station?
The quarterback, number 1, McIntyre.
McIntyre. All right. Thank you.
All right, Bradley. One more time. What is the score and time update from this game?
The score is 0-6 with 3 minutes left in the first quarter.
All righty. Thank you, Bradley. Appreciate the update.
Yeah.
So it seems like a quick start for Lake Station up there, and that's going to be an interesting game. See how that unfolds.
Yeah, I really think so. I think that, and these are 2 teams really that are pretty even teams. Neither team probably has a lot of depth, so that's going to, with this 85-degree weather, it's nice out. But, you need people that can come in and give kids a break. And if you don't have a lot of depth, that wears in the second half.
Fatigue and attrition is a real thing. So we've got an update here from Reed Amons with Michigan City at Maryville. Reed, what's going on?
Well, we've had a lot of scoring so far here in the first quarter. After Maryville scores on their opening drive, Michigan City comes right back and answers the Pirates with a 2-yard touchdown run by Jalen Hart. The extra point was good. Followed by that tied it up 7-7, and that followed up with a very short Maryville drive, 2 plays. Justin Marshall ran the ball both times, culminating in a 62-yard touchdown run. The extra point was just kicked and was good. That put the Pirates back up on top, 14-7 over Michigan City. There's 5:28 to go here in the opening quarter. A lot of scoring so far, 14-7 Pirates.
Reed, it looks like the Pirates are not having much trouble moving the football right now on offense. Is that true?
Yeah, neither team's having problems moving the football so far. Even on Michigan City's opening drive, they threw the ball a couple times early to pick up a few first downs, but they really ran the ball about the last 40 yards or so of their drive. Justin Marshall's got probably 120 yards or so here in the first two drives.
Wow, that's
for
impressive.
The Pirates. And we're just about halfway through the first quarter. So far, a lot of scoring, and neither defense has really stepped up to stop the other team yet. We haven't even seen a third down and long yet. In fact, I'm not even sure we've seen a third down yet. Both teams have had a lot of success moving the ball.
All right, Reed, one more time, the score and time update.
We are here in the opening quarter. There's 5:28 to go here in quarter number one. Maryville leading Michigan City 14-7.
All right, thanks, Reed. Appreciate it.
You bet, guys. Talk to you soon.
We got an exciting one out there.
Yeah, we really do. And Michigan City and Maryville is always a good rivalry. Michigan City plays Maryville very well,
right? Whether
it's at Michigan City Ames Field, that is, I guess,
right,
or at Maryville. So right now it looks like whoever touches the ball last is going to win it.
Right. It's going to be interesting. A lot of excitement out there in that game, and we've got some updates here with, speaking of excitement, Gary Graben with some updates from some of the action that he's covering. Gary, what you got?
That's my middle name, by the way, Excitement. Valpo, I'm going to get you some more details on this. Valpo has scored to take an early 7-0 lead. And back at Lowell, a 19-yard touchdown pass from Noah Ehrlich, arguably the best underclass quarterback we have in the region, right up the middle of the field. Extra point good, 14-7. Hobart over Lowell with 2:45 to go in the first quarter.
All right, so it seems like Hobart is responding. It's just kind of a back-and-forth action there.
Well, I mean, this is you don't see this often at the Inferno here. This is a 3-touchdown quarter already, and Lowell's already on the march here. Again, Riley Bank. It is definitely the Riley Bank show here tonight, and he is really, I think it's going to be Riley Bank until they can stop him. So, or I guess until they foreclose might be a better way of putting that. He is really doing everything here for Lowell on offense. We'll see. So far, it's going to be who can stop the other team.
Well, you can put that one in the bank. Okay.
Oh, gosh.
The low-hanging fruit again, Wayne, we're begging you.
We're all just groaning here in studio
We're
with
begging
all
you.
these puns. So, Gary, the update from Valpo, it seems that Valpo took a quick lead.
Took an early 7-0 lead. That happened right while I was waiting for you here, so let me get some more information on that, and I'll call you right back.
Sounds good. We're looking forward to it. Thank you, Gary.
The low-hanging fruit, boys. I don't think there's enough donations out there to go ahead and make that worthwhile. But, hey, if you are listening, you are the low-hanging fruit right now for us in our pledge drive as we look for your support. Hey, you know what? It's not an insult. You're here with us every Friday night, right? You've been here for the last couple of years, last couple of seasons.
Of course.
Maybe it started when you had a nephew playing on a Friday night. Maybe it was a kid, and you're listening from home or at work, not able to go see every game. Hey, we get it. Sometimes it's a long hike to go from the northwest corner to the southeast corner and vice versa across all of the counties here in northwest Indiana. But Game Night is one of the very few places across the radio dial in northwest Indiana that you're going to get all of this comprehensive high school football coverage in real time. And it might be the only place you're getting it actually in real time, because a lot of other places you're listening to full-on games. And if you don't care about that game, it's not to say you don't care about every game, but if you don't have any rooting interest in that one specific game, you kind of lose the flavor of what you're looking for. And so what you're looking for, obviously, is everything, right? You want to get the latest on what's happening, whether it's Boone Grove at Wheeler, still waiting on you, Tim Hogan, if it's Hobart and Lowell, if it's Munster, KV, of course, all the action in the Duneland with Chesterton and Valpo, obviously probably the big rivalry of the evening.
Right.
You've got Michigan City at Maryville, and of course Crown Point right down the road too, and Laporte at Lake Central, and Hanover at Griffith, and we've got Lake Station, Bishop Knoll. We just heard from Bradley Dorsey, student over at Bishop Knoll. We heard earlier as well from Andrew Evanich from Crown Point. We've got a couple of kids here on the sidelines as well. Rookies. Andrew's making his season debut. This is only Bradley's second or third week. I think second week.
I think.
Because they got COVIDed out a few weeks ago. And so it's an opportunity for these kids to really come in and kind of hone their chops along with the big guys like Gary and Ben and Wayne. Lucid Wayne, is that it?
Did you just call me a big guy? Is that a weight joke there?
Hey, there's no waiting when you make a pledge online at lakeshorepublicradio.org/give.
I love it.
It takes just a couple of minutes, and before the next scoreboard update here in a couple of minutes, you will be a sustaining member, and every time you tune in to Game Night, you know that you're helping to make this radio show possible, and you're also making sure that Wayne stays up on a Friday night.
He always stays up late. It's going to be Wayne and I hosting the television show tonight, so it's going to be a fun time.
What is that show?
That show's at 10:30 p.m. And how
what's this called? What is it?
It's on Lakeshore Public Television. So that's channel 17 or 56, depending on what your local listing is. And
it's called?
It is called Scoreboard.
Right.
So Lakeshore PBS Scoreboard is the official title. It's where Wayne and I will be taking care of the highlights and showing the world what we do here in Northwest Indiana, just play football. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a quick break here before we get some of these calls, and we're looking forward to hearing some updates on 89.1 FM, the Lakeshore.
This is Game Night on 89.1 FM, the Lakeshore, listener-supported public radio.
Lakeshore Public Radio's fiscal year comes to an end on September 30th. We've fallen short of our fundraising goals to date, but when you donate today, you'll help us close the gap and allow the station to finish strong. It takes only a minute to strengthen Lakeshore Public Radio with your donation, but the power of your support will echo back to you every time you connect with the station in the months ahead. Please visit lakeshorepublicradio.org and make a donation today.
This week on Our Body Politic, Women's Democracy Lab founder Dr. Sayu Bajwani on how Republicans and Democrats approach voters of color. That's on Our Body Politic.
Tune in Saturday afternoon at 5 and Sunday morning at 10 here on Lakeshore Public Radio.
My name is Maddie, and I live in Louisville, Kentucky. And I love Full-By because the way that Jesse Thorne interviews everyone, it really seems like there are questions that they've never been asked before.
I'm Jesse Thorne. This week, Christine Baranski from The Good Fight, plus folk legend Loudon Wainwright. That's on the next Bullseye from MaximumFun.org and NPR.
Tune in Saturday night at 6 here on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM.
It's jazz and western swing from the Hot Club of Cowtown, plus our favorite milk cow songs. Then Los Senzantes talk and sing about their Mexican-American roots and branches, collaborating with Linda Ronstadt, Jackson Brown, and Los Lobos. It's Milk Cows and Mockingbirds on American Roots from PRX.
Tune in Saturday night at 9 here on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM.
This week, a family band says farewell and hello at the very same time. Hey, I'm Elena C. I'll share a new single from the McCrary sisters, who got some help from their brother Alan recently. And folk icon John McCutcheon's got a new album out too. Plus, music to say goodbye to summer. Hope you can join me this week on Folk Alley.
Tune in for 2 hours of Folk Alley, Saturday nights at 11 here on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM.
And now, your Game Night scoreboard update.
And for Lakeshore Game Night, I'm Andrew Johnson. Here are the scores that we've gotten so far. In the Chesterton-Valpo game, Valpo leads 7-6. In the Portage-Crown Point game, Crown Point is up 14-0 last I heard. Laporte has a 7-0 lead over Lake Central. Maryville is beating Michigan State 7-0. In the Northwest Crossroads Conference, Hobart has a 14-7 lead over the Red Devils. Munster is beating Kankakee Valley, tied right now with Kankakee Valley at 7. Hanover has a 26-0 lead over Griffith. Boone Grove and Wheeler are tied at 7 right now. Lake Station has a 6-0 lead over Bishop Knoll. River Forest has a 7-0 lead over Whiting. West Central has a 22-0 lead over North Newton. West Lafayette has a 27-7 lead over Rensselaer. Hammond Central has a 22-8 lead over Pioneer. That is in the second quarter right now, and they are approaching halftime. That is all the scores that I have right now for Lakeshore Game Night. This is Andrew Johnson.
This is Game Night on 89.1 FM, The Lakeshore, listener-supported public radio.
As a nonprofit public broadcasting station, more than half of Lakeshore Public Radio's annual funding comes from local community support. That means we rely on donations from listeners like you to help power everything here at the station. And right now, your donation will help us raise $10,000 and unlock an additional $5,000 grant from the Crown Point Community Foundation. So please, don't wait. Visit lakeshorepublicradio.org and make a donation today. Thank you.
My name is Maddie, and I live in Louisville, Kentucky. And I love Bullseye because the way that Jesse Thorne interviews everyone, it really seems like there are questions that they've never been asked before.
I'm Jesse Thorne. This week, Christine Baranski from The Good Fight, plus folk legend Loudon Wainwright. That's on the next Bullseye from MaximumFun.org and NPR.
Tune in Saturday night at 6 here on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM.
Ever since their debut, K-pop group Girls' Generation has set new standards for their industry. 15 years later, they've put out a new album while their very first single is being sung on the front lines of protests.
Not every K-pop group's name ends up kind of being prophetic, but it really does feel like it was kind of Girls' Generation for this long while.
The legacy of Girls' Generation, next time on It's Been a Minute from NPR.
Sunday afternoon at 3 here on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM.
I was having reoccurring nightmares that thousands of cats were coming in from every window and door of my house, gonna scratch off my face, but...
Join us for more true stories told live. Dogs, cats, snakes, and more. That's on the Moth Radio Hour from PRX.
Tune in Saturday at noon and Sunday at 1 here on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM.
This is Game Night on 89.1 FM, The Lakeshore, listener-supported public radio. And now, the Game Night broadcast team.
Ben Kolodzinski back at you here with Game Night, joined as always by Wayne Svetnoff, and this week by Tom Maloney. We've got Gary Graben with a call-in with some updates. Gary, what's going on?
Well, out to Valpo, a couple of scores here. Sebastian Boswell to Garrett Lewis, the Mr. Do-Everything for Chesterton, a 24-yard touchdown pass. The extra point was missed, making it 7-6. That score was near the end of the first quarter. And then early in the second quarter, Travis Davis for Valpo, a 15-yard touchdown run right up the middle. That extra point also was missed, and it's 13-6. So, Wayne, you were talking about kicking, but maybe this game is where the kicking is going to be a factor.
That could be. I agree.
And we've also seen 2 kicks missed in Hanover Central already today. So it's been definitely a dicey kicking game or performance so far this year.
Hanover doesn't worry about 1-point plays. They just keep scoring 6.
That appears to be the case. So, Gary, you've got those 2 updates. What are you feeling here from the Valpo-Chesterton game?
Well, again, both teams are able to move the ball here. I know Chesterton obviously they've had some tough luck here this season, so they needed to kind of prove that they can go toe-to-toe with Valpo here, and they have in the early part of the game here. Still obviously a long way to go, 2.5 quarters of play, but I think Chesterton is in this game at this point in time, and I think, again, as we move forward, we'll see if they can hang all the way through. By the way, Justin Clark is at quarterback for Valpo tonight.
He is, okay.
So...
Well, that answers that question. So we've got Clark Manning going under center there. Gary, what do you think is the key down there in Lowell?
Well, as we talked earlier, I mean, for Hobart, they got to find a way to stop Riley Bank. This isn't exactly trickeration going on. This is Riley Bank running tougher than the people who are stopping him. And so there's the key for Hobart. I will say that as this game goes on, the danger for Hobart is that more and more players creeping up. And, Hobart, I know they know Riley can throw, but just enough to go over the top when they start sneaking in a little too much. So, for Lowell, they actually also need to do a little bit of work here on defense. That the Hobart's moved the ball a little too easily up and down the field here at the early part of the game, so there are adjustments that need to be made. We know Lowell's a good adjustment team on defense at the half, so as they near the half, we'll have to see if they can get into a better position here to shut down the Brickies.
All right, Gary, thanks for the updates. We're looking forward to hearing more from you.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll go from Gary Graben to Chuck DeMoss with an update at Munster versus Kankakee Valley. Chuck, what's going on?
Yeah, last we talked, guys, the KV was up 7-0. Since that time, Munster scored on a 3-yard run from their quarterback, A.J. Keyboy, I think his name is.
Mm-hmm.
The tie to score at 7-7. Then they punted. Guess again, Loudon Fugit ran it back 62 yards for the score to put KB up 14-7, and that's where we stand right now with 5 minutes to go till half.
Chuck, was that a punt return?
Yes, a 62-yard punt return.
So Kankakee Valley has a 97-yard kickoff return and a 62-yard punt return.
That is exactly right, yeah.
And who did that?
Munster may have had another score, too. I believe it was the running back who broke loose, Daniel Agadon. He fumbled. He had run about 50 yards, and he got down to about the 35, and he fumbled it, and KB recovered it. Otherwise, they may have had another score themselves, but that's the name of the game, hang on to it. But that's where we stand right now with KB up 14-7 with 5 minutes till half.
And, Chuck, could you give me the name of the punt returner?
Loudon Fugit. Same guy that ran the kickoff back.
Wow. Okay.
Same guy, yes.
Making a name for himself on the special teams right now.
Yeah. So he's had a big night. Right now, KB is really having a hard time running the ball. Munster's moved the ball up and down the field fairly good. It's just that one fumble cost them a score, I think. But they're moving the ball better than KB is on the ground. KB's kind of struggling getting first down. Those big plays have definitely helped them out here tonight. But they need to show that they can get some first downs and move the ball down the field, with the 3 or 4 first downs in a row. And I haven't seen that yet from KB tonight.
All right, Chuck, one more time. What is the score and time update?
We have 4:30 to go till halftime, and Kankakee Valley is up 14-7.
14-7. Thank you, Chuck. Appreciate the updates.
All right, guys. We'll call you later.
Yes, sir. So it seems like special teams are showing up large today at almost every game that we've seen so far.
Yeah, and I'm really surprised at the KV one. We haven't heard anything about this Loudon Pugit. He has 2, special teams touchdowns, and that's the only way KV has scored so far. So Munster is playing well.
Right.
They're behind, but they're playing well.
Well, like Chuck said, they are moving the ball up and down the field. They did have a red zone turnover, a fumble as they were going in for a score. But it all appears that if Kankakee Valley wasn't getting these special teams plays, and if Munster was to kind of tighten up some of these mistakes that they're making, this could be a completely different game.
Oh, I totally agree. This is a good one. I really like the fact that Munster is really being competitive here.
I agree. And Gary Graben gave us a couple updates here. He had Chesterton at Valpo, Chesterton at Valpo. Another game that's pretty close, and it is definitely going to be tight here going forward.
Yeah, Valpo leads that one 13-6, but there's that Travis Davis.
Right.
He was one of our most valuable players last week, and he's already at it again.
All right, let's take a look at another DAC school. We've got an update from Andrew at Portage at Crown Point. Andrew, what's going on up there?
Yeah, Portage just scored a touchdown. Young to Ross. That was the first time Portage was able to really get the ball going. Right now, Crown Point's on offense.
Andrew, was that a long run that he had, or was it just a short run?
It was a pass.
It was a pass.
It was a pass.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the first time Portage has been able to move the ball.
Wow.
It was a strong run game, and it ended with a nice pass.
Wow. Okay.
So, Andrew, what is the score right now?
It is 21-7, Crown Point. Second quarter with six minutes left.
Andrew, how did it go to 21? Who scored the last for Crown Point?
Yeah. So Portage had a great punt. Crown Point was on their own 4-yard line. Crown Point just ran the ball forward with J.J. Johnson. You know, they got a mobile quarterback. They're really able to play a lot with it. And they just ran the ball with them, had some nice passes, and ended up getting a touchdown.
And who scored that? Was it Johnson?
J.J. Johnson, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
So, Andrew, it appears that this game is being controlled pretty easily by Crown Point. How are they doing it?
Crown Point's just running the ball. They're playing good fundamental defense, and they're running the ball well.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. We appreciate the update. Looking forward to hearing more from you.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
All righty. Thank you. So, Crown Point's doing what they do.
Yes, that's right.
They're
moving the football. Portage now finally got on the board, so there's some momentum for the Indians here, but they've got a long road to go here to beat Crown Point.
The long road to go. They're down 2 scores against a team that can chew up a lot of clock. That's not a good position to be in.
But if they can go to the locker room only down 2 scores, there is some positivity.
Absolutely. You really need that momentum to keep going in your direction. And, you know, it's really interesting to see how this is moving going forward. All these games, it has been a momentum swing. The special teams have provided a lot of that excitement this week, which is something that you normally don't see.
Yeah, I totally agree. And when you look around here, I really like the way that, Hammond to Central, 22-8
right
over Pioneer. Pioneer is an established program. They are very good. Maybe not this year. They're 500, I think.
Sure.
But still, Hammond dominating them 22-8. I like that score.
Oh, I like that score too. And you're in a situation where an established program from downstate is coming up to you, driving 2 hours to get to you. We continue to forget that Hammond Central's only been around for a couple years. You know, Pioneer has been a team that we have mentioned on air here since I was first starting here 15 years ago. This is definitely a established program, so they're very impressive performance by Hammond so far.
You know, I totally agree, and probably another one that is a very competitive game is Lake Station and Bishop Knoll. Lake Station, I think, is 6-0 over Bishop Knoll, and this is going to be a fight to the very end. These two teams need a win. They need a win right away. And I wasn't really sure. Maybe I just kind of missed the score from Boone Grove and Wheeler. Was it Wheeler 7, Boone Grove nothing?
No, that's not what I heard.
That hurts, man. That hurts, Wayne. That hurts.
From what I understand, it was tied 7-7. Is that right?
Okay, that's it.
That's what I heard. So it looks like we've got another update from Portage Crown Point. This is Andrew Avanich here. Andrew, what's going on?
Just the same old. J.J. Johnson, he's just running the ball. He's doing whatever he wants with the defense. They have no answer for him. 27-7, Crown Point's kicking a field goal right now.
So Crown Point's kicking the extra point. So it seems like that J.J. Johnson is doing what he does best and just taking a game over.
Yeah, Crown Point, they have this great double threat. J.J. Johnson, quarterback, he has the arm and the legs. It's difficult to stop him.
Yeah, Johnson has just come on so strong this year. He was a good quarterback last year, but boy, has he matured. And that's what you expect of your quarterback. And I think that I think Johnson has really matured, taken over that Bulldog program. But I think it's a lot. You got to give a lot of credit to Buzz Bazia. He has really established himself.
All right, Angie, one more time. What is that upgrade or that update?
Crown Point just made the extra point. Now it's 28-7. About 4 minutes and 46 seconds in the second quarter.
Okay, Andrew, give us a call at halftime, would you please?
What's that?
Give us a call at halftime, would you please?
Yeah.
All right, thank you much.
All right, thank you for having me on again.
All right, of course, thank you. All right, we've got an update here from Tim Hogan with an update from Boone Grove and Wheeler. Tim, what's going on out there?
Right now it is Wheeler 13, Boone Grove 7. Boone got off to the quick start. Mark Rowland on a nice drive, 1-yard touchdown run to go up 7-0. Wheeler answered with a 61-yard touchdown pass to Bryce Compton from Keegan Keel. Tied it at 7 at the end of 1. And then to start the second quarter, Keegan Keel has a 12-yard touchdown run. The extra point was no good. And that is Wheeler 13, Boone Grove 7. You got to give Coach Kanye credit. He rolled the dice and started the freshman tonight at quarterback, and so far it's worked out pretty good.
What is Steele, the young man's name for Wheeler?
Keegan Keel.
Keegan Steele, okay.
Yeah.
Keel, right?
Quarterback last year.
Keel.
K-E-I-L.
All right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's...
yeah, it was a nice move by Coach.
So, Tim, how have we got to this point? Is Boone Grove struggling here, or is Wheeler just asserting their dominance? It's still only a one-score game, so it's still pretty tight, but what is the key so far?
Well, first of all, I don't think either team's struggling. Both teams have had 1 or 2 penalties that hurt a drive, but both teams are playing well. They're tackling well. Boone's on a drive right now. They have 1st and 10 at the Wheeler 29, but they just got stuffed at the line for no gain. So the key, I think, is so far is both teams are playing well, and right now it's a really good game to watch.
All right, thanks, Tim. One more time, what is the score and time update?
It is 6:45 left in the second quarter. Wheeler 13, Boone Grove 7.
All right, thanks, Tim. Looking forward to hearing more from you here. All right, so you got 13-7 there. Wheeler with a one-score lead. But like you said, this is a pretty tight game. Both teams are playing well. Just a matter of getting those inopportune penalties while you're driving. But this one could go down to the wire.
It sure could, because, again, as we talked about early in the season, then quarterbacks many times make the difference. And Boone Grove has a very good one in Matt Rowland. Right. He had a nice outing last week. Now he scored one of the first touchdown for Boone Grove. So you've got a very balanced game, and that's what you like to see.
Right. Tom, what do you think about this game so far?
I've got no comment at this time.
Very political answer there by Tom. No, it's obviously
getting beat by a freshman, boys. What are you doing out there?
Hey.
Oh man. But if the kid can play, the kid can play, I guess. But you're starting a freshman quarterback in a rivalry game. I feel like Wheeler's just kind of like wagging their finger in front of Boone Grove and saying daring him to bite it, but no teeth in the Wolves' bite tonight.
Well, there's
so far.
So far. All right. It is still only a one-score game, right. And it's one of those two where a one-score game, I think sometimes in a rivalry game feels bigger than what it actually is.
Be, right?
Where it's if you're down 3, down 5, down 6 or 7, but it's a team that you just can't stand. It feels sometimes it almost feels insurmountable. Versus a couple of minutes ago, you're talking about Portage being down 2 scores at Crown Point and feeling good about that. And then what happens, Crown Point drives right back down the field again, and they score another touchdown. And now you're down 3 scores, and it's like, okay, that's a little bit more of an insurmountable kind of a mountain. But that going into it versus, sure. What's the score in the Valpo-Chesterton game right now?
13-6.
Same thing there as well, where it's, it's just that both teams know each other so well, and it's almost to the point that you have to you have to just execute down to such minute details.
Sure.
In order to go ahead and capitalize on any sort of an error the other team gives you. Again, because you both know each other so well, and it's Wheeler's got a little bit of an older team than Boone Grove by a couple of years. But both teams on the grand scheme of things and on the grand scale in Northwest Indiana are relatively new high school football teams. Not Hammond new, but relatively new nonetheless. But yeah, it's one of those where I think you have to execute well, and football is a 2-half game.
Sure is.
And it's, it'll come down for both games, for Chesterton, Valpo, and for Boone Wheeler, who makes those second half adjustments to capitalize on the next mistake that somebody else makes. And if you don't make those second half adjustments, the guy in the other locker room is going to.
Right. So one thing to keep in mind is Boone Grove is down by 6 to Wheeler. Valpo is up by 7. Those are both one-score games, but they're completely different dynamics.
Yes.
Yep,
because you have the opportunity to kick an extra point, and if you're only down 6, you tie it up with a touchdown, you take the lead, that could end up being a 1-point game, and that could be the difference. Obviously, you can theoretically go for 2 in the case of Valparaiso versus Chesterton, but 7 is a much more common number to be up.
Yeah.
So, like you said, though, it comes down to details and those small mistakes.
And those missed extra points.
Exactly right. And so we're seeing that. We're seeing the special teams coming up large or coming up short here, depending on which perspective you're looking at here. And it's normally games aren't won by special teams, but they're doing it right now.
And my phone says right now, we're trapped in the back studio, over at the Lakeshore Studios here in Maryville, but it's 72 degrees and clear skies.
Wow.
There's not a lot of wind. There's clearly no rain tonight. I've got stuff in the back of my pickup truck that I don't want to get wet as well, so I hope there's no rain. But it doesn't seem like there's much of a reason to have this many missed extra points.
Right.
And frankly, this many, or at least in one game, that many special teams returns for touchdowns, talking about the KV game where they've got a 14-7 lead over Munster, thanks to 2 special teams touchdowns. That's the type of stuff that happens in a sloppy, muddy game.
Right.
Things get sloppy and muddy. Assignments get missed simply because a kid falls down. And it's not the fault or the lack of skill anywhere, but the weather plays, I think, a bigger impact in some of these games in a couple of weeks. We're in the middle of September. It's beautiful, a beautiful night here. This isn't October or early November football, and you're a kicker. Put the ball through the posts. You do it in soccer. Why can't you do it in football?
Well, you're talking about 16-year-old kids, too. And
they do it in soccer.
And plus, I think, as a coach, you're down with the Boone Grove and Wheeler game. I really think you go into the locker room, if you can go in down 7, where you could just come out and have one good series and score, like Ben was saying, you've got a 1-point lead, where in Chesterton, that's going to be a little bit more difficult. I think the balance between Boone Grove and Wheeler is much better than the balance between Chesterton and Valpo.
Yeah, I think you're right. The way both teams are trending. But one question for both of you at this point, okay, you're on the sidelines right now, and you don't know how the rest of the games are going across Northwest Indiana, but say you're coaching a team, it's like, well, we've just missed 2 extra points. Do you just start going for 2? Or is high school one of those things where do you just automatically go for 2 just because the kicking is so unreliable?
Well, for the years that I played, we always had really good kickers. We had Carl Joya. He kicked for Notre Dame. The year after he graduated, we had Kyle Pro, who was an excellent kicker. I don't think he kicked in college or anything like that, but these were pretty reliable, made the vast majority of their extra points, and would make some pretty decent field goals. There's a dynamic where you really just have to know when you're missing. You have to know where you're at in the game.
Yeah.
Like for Hanover, they've missed 2 extra points already today, but they're also up God knows how many points now, but they were up 3 touchdowns at one point. So it's kind of a take it or leave it type scenario, but some programs you just see going straight for 2, and that's an interesting dynamic.
Well, all right, let's play that dynamic out. You're Chesterton, you're on the road, okay? Ben, what did the coaches tell your teams in this situation? You're down 7. You score, okay? Do you go for the 2 on the road for the win, or do you play for the tie?
From my perspective, I would go for the win on the road and the tie at home. You always think that the home crowd is going to be able to push you in the right direction and make it so you can potentially have, that extra morale boost if you go into an overtime. There's nothing better than stealing a victory on the road, and it's definitely a circumstance where, Justin may need to try to do some things here.
And that they've got the quarterback in Boswell, and for Chesterton. And that Chesterton has this Toma as the receiver who is just outstanding. So that'd be very easy for them to go for the 2. I'm not saying they could be successful because Valpo has a good defense.
Yes, they do.
But I like that philosophy of, hey, you're on the road. Why not steal one from Valpo? Right. What a beautiful week that would be for Chesterton.
I mean, what does Chesterton have to lose? But we're in a circumstance now where we're going to go ahead and take a quick break here on 89.1 FM, The Lakeshore.
This is Game Night on 89.1 FM, The Lakeshore, listener-supported public radio.
Through all of the uncertainty over the past couple of years, you've been able to count on Lakeshore Public Radio as a steady source of information, connection, and community. That always matters, and even more so today. It's why you listen, and it's a great reason to support this station right now during our fall membership drive. This is our last on-air campaign before our fiscal year ends on September 30th. So please donate at lakeshorepublicradio.org and help us finish strong. Thank you.
No one knows, 'cause no one sees. On TV.
Songwriter extraordinaire James McMurtry is back with us on the next Mountain Stage, and we'll hear new songs from Aoife O'Donovan, Natalie Hemby, and writer and song singer Heather Maloney. It's Mountain Stage.
Hi, this is James McMurtry. Join me this week in a live performance on Mountain Stage.
Tune in for Mountain Stage, Saturday night at 7, here on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM.
And now, your Game Night Scoreboard update.
Good evening, everybody. This is Andrew Johnson for Lakeshore Game Night. Let's take a look at some of the scores around the region. Valparaiso now has a 13-6 lead over the Chesterton Trojans. Crown Point is a 28-7 lead over Portage. Laporte still has a 7-0 lead over Lake Central. Maryville now has a 14-10 lead over Michigan City. Hobart has a 14-7 lead over the Low Red Devils. Last we heard, KV is up 14-7 over Munster. Hanover now has a 47-0 lead over the Griffith Panthers. Wheeler is up 13-7 over Boone Grove. Lake Station now has a 6-0 lead over Bishop Knoll. River Forest still has a 7-0 lead over Whiting. West Central has a 22-0 lead over North Newton. Tomorrow night's game, this was not reported earlier, but the Morton Govers play the Westside Cougars tomorrow night and not tonight. Hammond Central has a 22-8 lead over Pioneer. That game is at the half. West Lafayette is leading Rensselaer 41-7. And North Judson has a 21-0 lead over Winamac. For Lakeshore Game Night, I'm Andrew Johnson.
This is Game Night on 89.1 FM, The Lakeshore, listener-supported public radio.
As a nonprofit public radio station, more than half of Lakeshore Public Radio's annual funding comes from local community support. That means we rely on donations from listeners like you to help power everything here at this station. And right now, your donation will help us raise $10,000 and unlock an additional $5,000 grant from the Crown Point Community Foundation. So please, don't wait. Visit lakeshorepublicradio.org and make a donation today.
I'm Christopher Lydon. Next time on Open Source, you must remember this. Casablanca
was all-time Hollywood, a slapdash miracle. Umberto Eco said it is many movies, maybe all movies. It's got bit players with big lines, an immigrant cast, and the heart of America in 1941. Play it again next on Open Source.
Tune in.
This is Game Night on 89.1 FM, The Lakeshore. Listener-supported public radio. And now, the Game Night broadcast team.
All right, we've had some exciting gameplay here in Northwest Indiana. Some games that have been a little bit lopsided, and some games that have been a little bit less so, and some games that have been pretty competitive. Tom, we've got a caller online. Who do we got here?
We're going to the Superman of Game Night, Gary Graben.
Gary Graben. Gary, what do you got?
I know that Wayne's my kryptonite. That's all I can say. Both games that we're looking at here today, Chester and Valpo, they have gone to the half, just went to the half, 13-6 Valpo. And at Lowell, Hobart had a couple of chances here, a play that went deep into the Lowell territory but was called back for a block in the back. And then on a succeeding drive, a snap over the quarterback's head put Hobart in a bad position. So they were not able to score, and Lowell was able to get inside Hobart territory at the end, a couple of passes into the end zone to end the half, but they fell incomplete harmlessly, and so that score also remains 14-7. Hobart over Lowell.
So we've got some very similar scores here on these two games. Gary, what do you think is the key going forward for each of these?
Well, I think, again, if we go back to that first game we talked about for Chesterton and Valpo, if Chesterton can establish themselves in the third quarter with an early score, then we're in a dogfight there. Again, if Valpo goes up a couple of touchdowns, I really think that might be the end there. So the next score of that game is very important. And for Hobart and Lowell, Lowell has opened up with a little more passing, trying to find other ways to get some offense because Hobart has done a little better job shutting down the Riley Bank show. So again, Lowell's going to have to find some different ways to score. And for Hobart, again, they have thrown the ball. They're running a lot of three wide receiver sets. Tight end also going out, one back in the backfield. So it's an open type Hobart offense, and they have found some success in the middle of the field against this Lowell defense.
So Gary, I heard a rumor that Trey Gibson hasn't seen the field tonight. Is that true?
That is correct. Apparently he was questionable coming into this game and has not been seen in game action yet.
All right, Gary, we appreciate the updates. We're looking forward to hearing more from you.
You got it.
All right, we're going to go quick here to Andrew Avanich. Andrew, what's going on out there in Crown Point?
Yeah, we're seeing what the Bulldogs have been doing all year long. They've just been dominating teams. They just got another touchdown. J.J. Johnson passed McDermott. This is turning into a blowout real quickly. It's getting ugly out here.
Andrew, what is the score?
What's that?
What's the score?
The score is 35-7.
35-7. So it's become pretty. How much time's left in the half?
About a minute.
Who has the ball?
Right now, Portage has the ball. They're at the 50-yard line.
Okay. So it seems like Portage is going to give a little bit of a scare here towards the end of the half, but other than that, it seems like Crown Point's firmly in control. So, Andrew, could you give us a call after the third quarter with an update?
Yeah, okay, I'll see you.
All right, thanks, Andrew. Appreciate your update. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to Kevin Driscoll with an update with Griffith and Hanover Central. Kevin, what's going on?
The last time Hanover Central lost the Greater South Shore Conference regular season game was almost 2 years ago, September 18th, 2020, right here at Griffith's Boneyard. It was a 35-8 Panther win in 2020. Brian Parker, the head coach of the Wildcats, has not forgotten, and neither have a lot of his players tonight. They came out with a little extra oomph. And at halftime, they lead 47-0, and Griffith's offense has been virtually non-existent. This is a story about Hanover's defense. We're going to start with some defensive stats. They held Griffith to just 39 total yards in the first half.
My goodness.
Griffith averaging just 1.6 yards per carry. The offense had 8 offensive possessions, just 2 first downs, and they lost 2 fumbles. One of those fumbles was returned 40 yards for a touchdown by Hanover Central linebacker Sam Chambers. On the offensive side, it's homecoming in the background, in case you were wondering. But
We hear some excitement. I didn't know if they were cheering for your update there, Kevin.
well, hey, I mean, stranger things have happened. Connor Cervantes, the Griffith running back, was homecoming king. So there you go. There's a feather in his cap tonight.
Good for him.
And I'll tell you what, he walked across the 50 and got 50 wide open yards. That's something he has not seen all night. So there you go. Meanwhile, on the offensive side, Matt Kuntz making his first start of the season, coming back from injury. And that first half, very productive. 4 touchdown passes, as well as a 7-yard touchdown run. 4 touchdown passes, 2 went to Caden Barrett. Kuntz is 9 for 11 with 38 yards in the air, and a touchdown run as well, too. So total yards at the half, Hanover 261, 39 for Griffith. This one is all over but the running clock, second half.
Kevin, it seems like Kuntz has been really sharp here. It's coming off his injury. Really impressive return for him.
Yeah, as far as the eyeball test, it looks like his timing is a little bit off with his wide receivers. He's thrown a couple of jump balls, but he's got some real talented offensive receivers that can really just go get the ball. And Kuntz is confident to just put the ball up. He's been a little off on the timing, again, a little late on his reads. But again, Caden Barrett came back to a ball and made 2 guys miss in the open field on his last touchdown. Another one went to former Hanover quarterback Tony Bartolomeo, which was good to see him in the scoring column. Bartolomeo with a 22-yard touchdown catch, as he was the quarterback for the first 4 games for Hanover before Kuntz makes his first start tonight.
All right, Kevin, one more time. What does that score at halftime here?
On an extended homecoming halftime here at the Boneyard, Hanover leads 47-0. We'll have a running clock for the 5th time in 5 games for Hanover this season.
All right, Kevin, thanks for the update.
You got it.
So, folks, it seems like Hanover is picking up where they left off.
I guess we're not surprised. But one question I have for you, Ben, is the world of homecoming, aside from the Saturday night dance and all the fun that kind of surrounds it, from a player's perspective, right? You get the delayed start of the game because you get the court at the beginning, which oftentimes includes the captain, maybe it's the star quarterback or the stud linebacker. You then have the extended halftime, right? Mm-hmm. But normally, I say normally, that halftime involves a team that homecoming involves a team you can beat, right? Because homecoming isn't necessarily always the 4th week of the season or the 5th week or the 6th week. It kind of depends on when you're home and who you're playing at home. And so, obviously we're seeing, Kevin Driscoll, the update there on Hanover beating Griffith, but Griffith is having their homecoming, and they're welcoming in Hanover, and vice versa. Crown Point's at home against Portage, and it is their homecoming, and they are welcoming Portage with open arms, legs, maybe a headbutt or 2 as well, as they're just absolutely blowing them out. So, homecoming, is it a distraction for players? Is it just another part of the atmosphere for the game? How does it work?
When I was at high school, the football players were not allowed to be part of the court. So we definitely, maybe our girlfriends at the time or anything like that were involved. So we tried to really focus on the game at hand.
Yeah.
It's definitely a circumstance where there can obviously be some distractions here. There's a parade, maybe. There's a dance, and you're going to pick out the corsage, and you want to make sure your suit looks right.
Got to match the dress.
Got to match the dress. Salmon is not pink. It's it's a different shade and all that stuff. So it's definitely a circumstance where there could be some distractions, but definitely it's going to end up being a bummer of a homecoming for Griffith here this week.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where even if you're not on the football team, it's still you go to the dance, you got the dinner, and it's like your team's still lost, and it's not like it's a close. It's not like, oh man, we 21-20 or sort of a 10-7 drag them out, punch them out kind of a game. It's they took you behind the school, and they took your lunch money too, and then told you to get back on the bus to go back home, and it's like, wait,
we're home. Right?
Yeah, it's a rough one, and I don't know. I always feel like homecoming can be a distraction in that regard, and especially too, it's like you've got a team that you want to be able to, at least hang in there with.
Right.
Even if in your heart of hearts, you're probably not going to beat them because they're deep, they're talented, but at the same time, you want to be able to hang in there, but then you start thinking about, the dresses and the dinners and the pictures and everything else that goes on with it.
Yeah, the after get-together, all these opportunities, things that these kids, the social aspect of things are looking forward to. It can be a distraction. In fairness, I don't think there was much of a distraction, or even if it was a distraction, I think Hanover's that good in this.
Yeah.
So speaking of another good team, we're going to move from this game to an update with Michigan City and Maryville with Dr. Reed Amons. Dr. Reed, what's going on?
Yeah, Michigan City was able to pick up a field goal early in the second quarter to pull within 4. Maryville at that point still led 14-10. And then after trading punts from each team, Maryville was able to take the last possession of the half all the way to the end zone. Justin Marshall runs it in from 2 yards out for his third score of the night. The extra point was good. That put Maryville up 21-10 with about 30 seconds to go before halftime. Michigan City then just runs out the clock here. We have a halftime score now, Maryville 21 and Michigan City 10.
Dr. Reed, it appears now that Maryville has opened this up to a 2-score game. How's Maryville doing it? Have they kind of asserted their dominance here, or is Michigan City kind of falling off? How have we gotten here?
Yeah, really no turnovers in the first half and just one punt per side. But Maryville's really done a nice job offensively. Actually, the score could be a lot worse. There were 2 really nicely thrown deep passes that were just dropped by the receivers for Maryville before a big connection of about 45 yards in that very last possession that got the ball down to the 2-yard line that allowed Justin Marshall to run it in for that final score. But, yeah, Maryville's done a real nice job of probably 80% of the plays have gone through Justin Marshall, either on the ground or a couple passes as well. A couple deep balls thrown, but really haven't connected. Just maybe about 1 for 3 on the deep ball to some receivers for Maryville. But yeah, a really nice half. They only had 4 possessions, and Maryville scored Justin Marshall touchdowns on 3 of those. Michigan City only had the ball 3 times and came away with points twice, a touchdown and a field goal. Michigan City is going to get the ball first here in the second half when we do come back from the break. And we'll see if they can. I really think that they're going to need a score in that opening drive of the second half to keep this game close. So 21-10 right now, Maryville on top, just going to halftime.
Hey, Reed, before we let you go, you said during the pregame show tonight that you still weren't sure what you were getting with Michigan City and this football team. Is there any clear answer in the first half of this game, or is it still wait to be seen here as we get into the second half?
Yeah, you know what I've really been impressed with Michigan City here so far is that they are fast. They have good team speed. They do run hard. They're quick to the ball. They're flying around on defense. They have been able to run the ball. Their offensive linemen have done a really nice job, and Jalen Hart's done a really nice job of running the ball. They have been able to put some things together offensively and really had big chunks of yardage throughout the night. So I've been impressed with what I've seen from Michigan City. I think they've got a lot to build on here, even though they're down 21-10 at half. But it was not a bad first half performance at any stretch of the imagination for the Wolves tonight.
All right, Dr. Reed, thank you much. Appreciate the update.
You bet, guys. Talk to you in the second half.
Yes, sir. All right, so a lot of excitement. A lot of these games are hitting halftime, so that's perfect time for us to take a break on 89.1 FM, The Lakeshore.
This is Game Night on 89.1 FM, The Lakeshore, listener-supported public radio.
As a nonprofit public broadcasting station, more than half of Lakeshore Public Radio's annual funding comes from local community support. That means we rely on donations from listeners like you to help power everything here on the station. And right now, your donation will help us raise $10,000 and unlock an additional $5,000 grant from the Crown Point Community Foundation. So please, don't wait. Visit lakeshorepublicradio.org and make a donation today. Thank you.
This week on Our Body Politic, Women's Democracy Lab founder Dr. Sayu Bajwani on how Republicans and Democrats approach voters of color. That's on Our Body Politic.
Tune in Saturday afternoon at 5 and Sunday morning at 10 here on Lakeshore Public Radio. Need to find out what's happening in Northwest Indiana and you're not in Northwest Indiana?
Some clodhopper down in Griffith, Indiana.
Maybe you can listen to the radio in your office at a reasonable volume.
Could you turn that down just a little bit?
But I was told that I could listen to the radio at a reasonable volume.
Or you don't own a radio. You can stream Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM, wherever you are. Visit lakeshorepublicradio.org and click the play button and get Lakeshore Public Radio wherever you go.
And now, your Game Night Scoreboard update.
Good evening, everybody. For Lakeshore Game Night, this is Andrew Johnson here with the scores right now as they roll in. Valpo still has a 13-6 lead over Chesterton. Crown Point has a 35-7 lead over Portage. Lake Central and Laporte are tied at 7 right now. Maryville is up 14-10 over Michigan City. Hobart still holds a 14-7 lead over Lowell. Kankakee Valley has a 14-7 lead over Munster. Hanover leads Griffith 47-0 at halftime at the Boneyard. Wheeler still leads Boone Grove 13-7. Bishop Knoll still has a 6-0 lead over Bishop Knoll. River Forest still leads Whiting 7-0. Calumet has a 14-0 lead over East Chicago Central. West Central has a 22-0 lead over North Newton. Hammond Central has a 22-8 lead over Pioneer. West Lafayette has a 41-7 lead over Rensselaer. North Judson has a 21-0 lead over Winamac. And we have a final from last night. I was just informed about this a little bit ago. Bowman beat Calumet Christian 14-8 last night. For Lakeshore Game Night, this is Andrew Johnson.
This is Game Night on 89.1 FM, the Lakeshore, listener-supported public radio.
Lakeshore Public Radio's fiscal year comes to a close on September 30th, and the Crown Point Community Foundation has generously proposed a $1 for $2 matching grant during this fall membership campaign. So we need your help right now to raise $10,000 and unlock an additional $5,000 grant from the Crown Point Community Foundation. Please donate today at lakeshorepublicradio.org and help us finish strong. Thank you.
A decade ago, Republican Congressman Bob Inglis changed his position on climate.
You know, I am the guy who was wrong for 6 years in Congress.
But there were consequences.
In politics, it's considered a flip-flop. It's not considered a positive thing. That was the end of my career in Congress.
Deciding to change our minds. That's next time on the TED Radio Hour from NPR.
Tune in Saturday morning at 10 and Sunday morning at 11 here on Lakeshore Public Radio.
Two girls in post-war France begin to write stories together, but only one becomes famous.
The French are always interested in girl prodigies, but here this is a fresh voice from the countryside.
We'll talk to novelist Iyun Lee about their complicated friendship in The Book of Goose. All that and the latest news on Weekend Edition Saturday from NPR News. Tune in at 7 a.m. for Weekend Edition here on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM.
This is Game Night on 89.1 FM, the Lakeshore, listener-supported public radio. And now, the Game Night broadcast team.
All right, we're back, and we want to again thank Jessica Wilosinski.
That was close.
Yeah, that was close. Wilosinski. Anyway, she is the owner of Stefano's Pizza in Crown Point for feeding the Game Night crew tonight. Stefan's the home of the Sauce Boss.
Sauce Boss.
Sauce Boss. Some of the best homemade dough and sauce around. Jessica has been celebrating her 8th anniversary as the owner of Stefano's Pizza, November 16th. Stefano's Pizza is located at 10709 Randolph Street in Crown Point, just outside of the Lake of Four Seasons. You can call them at 219-663-6656. Let me do that again.
Yes, please.
219-663-6656 to place your order for the Game Night Pizza. And we really appreciate all the people that have really sponsored this show, especially, people like the pizza places that we've had for the last 5 weeks, all last year, and for NIPSCO, who has been there with us all along, always supporting Game Night and Scoreboard on television. They just have been a wonderful, wonderful sponsor, and they do a great job in the area. So we want to thank all of those people, but I'll just tell you right now, Tom, the pizza's gone, so you're done.
I've been in the studio all night. But, Wayne, we always talk about the sponsors when it comes to food, and, of course, thanking NIPSCO as well for their underwriting. But, hey, we're public radio, and the fans on the sidelines matter as much as the guys that are playing on the sidelines, as much as the coaches up in the box as well. And it's a team environment, right? You're wearing your team colors. We're wearing our team colors. Wayne's got his Lakeshore PBS shirt on. I've got my Lakeshore Public Media shirt on. The white and the blue here in the building, of course, synonymous with Boone Grove and Lake Central, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Two power colors right there, Wayne, blue and white. And but it's always great to talk about high school football across Northwest Indiana every Friday night here for roughly, last year was about 15 or 16 weeks as we actually got to do. So we've broadcasted individual games before, and we broadcasted a semi-state game between Valparaiso and Fishers years ago. Andy Schultz and Tommy Williams on the call, and a shout-out to T-Dub as well. We hope that he's recovering. He is still out due to some health concerns, so we're hoping for the best for T-Dub there. But aside from that game years ago, a game in which Fishers ended up winning, I believe it was Fishers, might have been Hamilton Southeastern, but I think it was Fishers. I'm from Fishers, I should know which one it was, but I digress. But last year we got 4 games at semi-state covered on Game Night, which was just unheard of.
Yes, it was.
Of course, Tommy Williams always complaining, I never get to see a football game. So he sent him out to Michigan City in the freezing cold, and he's like, I want to come back in the studio. And it was fantastic because it was an opportunity that we haven't had here at the station in quite some time, to be able to have that many games covered. And of course, every week we've got so many games covered. Even if we don't have a live correspondent, we're still pulling the scores and the updates. We know who's scoring those touchdowns through the the underground, as you guys call it, and kind of, just being able to get that information out to listeners, I think is so incredibly important. And we get it. Most of the Game Night listeners aren't our regular 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, or even Saturday and Sunday listeners when it comes to public radio. But, following Game Night, we've got great blues music. Saturday nights, we've got roots music. Sunday nights, local jazz. Monday is like world music. Tuesday's rock. Wednesday and Thursday, we've got more jazz music and international music, more so on Thursday than Wednesday with the jazz. But, so even if you don't want to get into the weeds when it comes to the latest on what happened, at the White House and what's happening down at the State House with Governor Holcomb, right? It's like, I'm politicsed out, or I get my news someplace else, right? Okay, I respect that. But you get your high school football scores here. You're getting your updates here. You're tuning in to this station for this news and information. And if that's something that you rely on, if that's something you're counting on every week, whether it's Wayne's Little Five, Boone Grove, or Wayne's, top 10, Boone Grove. It's familiar, and that it's going to highlight the best of Northwest Indiana high school football. The kids who go out every single week, they're playing well. Of course, one of those things when you're a student athlete, all student athletes know you got to keep that GPA up. So not only are they playing well, but they're hitting the books, right? They're studying hard too, and they're really trying to become the best versions of themselves. We're highlighting those kids every single week right here on Game Night, and of course on Lakeshore PBS Scoreboard as well, coming up here in just a couple hours.
You know, people need to understand this is PBS, public broadcasting, and we do it certainly out of the love of, highlighting athletes. We're not ESPN on TV. We're not some of the big radio stations that, you can think.
Oh, man.
We are public broadcasting, and we need support. And I think today's the last day that
Today is. So the website, Wayne, is lakeshorepublicradio.org/give. Takes just a couple of minutes. Make a pledge of support, and you can ensure that Wayne will never be allowed to leave the studio. He is going to be as lively and energetic as ever in like 25 years, just sitting in the back corner again.
And it's amazing. You go out into the public, and I'll just relate a real quick one. I was playing golf very poorly, as I do, and on another course right next to us, a guy just comes up and says, hey, aren't you on TV and on radio for Lakeshore? And I said, yes. And he said, I listen all the time. I love it. I really do. Well, people like hearing the scores. It's great to follow one game. If your son or daughter or whatever is playing in that one game, but to get all the scores and to have all the fantastic correspondence that we do. They do this out of just the love of supporting kids. We don't try to bring down teams. We try to highlight the best in high school athletics right here on this station. And I think we do a darn good job of it.
I agree, but I got to tell you what, after tonight, I kind of agree with Gary. I got some questions about those top 10 lists, so to speak, though. They highlight the best of Northwest Indiana, but not necessarily all of the best of Northwest Indiana, if you catch my drift. But Boone Grove does have to beat Wheeler tonight in order for that to go ahead and stand.
I never was a good catcher.
Yeah, that's all right. I was on the bench on my baseball team as well. But again, lakeshorepublicradio.org/give is the website to go ahead and make a sustaining pledge of support. And, of course, we are dealing with a lot of homecomings across Northwest Indiana and some extended half times this week, some extended half times next week as well. Whoa, as my chair breaks in real time in the studio.
Look at that. Anything can happen on live broadcast.
That's right.
So one interesting thing that we've had this week, and we're in, like Tom was saying, the extended halftime, so we're a little bit slow right now. Some of the performances that we've had so far this Friday night has been really impressive, and I'm looking at Hanover Central right now. They are just steamrolling Griffith.
47-0. Unbelievable. Now, very honestly, Griffith has struggled recently. They've had problems offensively and defensively. They switched back to the bone, and that's not an offense that you can come from behind very easily, especially. And now you've got a running clock, because with 47-0, that's second half.
So the wishbone, or the T-bone if you're at a steakhouse, but the wishbone, I mean, if you're a high school football player, do you want to go play football and run the wishbone? Like,
if you're running back, you do.
I mean, yeah, but if you're not, if you're a wide receiver, if you're a pass-catching tight end, if you're a quarterback, and it's one of those things, what you're getting yourself into there. That do you say, hey, Mom, Dad, can we go over to Lake Central? Can I go over to Hobart maybe versus, Griffith? Does that matter in today's day and age for these kids when you're looking at what kind of an offensive, maybe not necessarily a defensive system, whether you run a nickel or a 3-4 or 4-3, I don't think most kids really care. But, offensively, like, do you want to get involved with that?
Again, you got to understand here now, if this is not a Russ Radke wishbone, where there's no throw.
Right,
okay?
right.
They break the bone. and they will hit some swing passes, and certainly if you've got a receiver, they will break the bone and get him the ball.
Yeah.
So it's a little different now. I understand where you're going with this. Kids want to score. Kids want to run up, score. They want to, like that. I think the bottom line is, if you would say to a young man now, would you rather, play in a system where you throw the ball all over the field and lose, or play in a system where you keep it close, you get a chance every week to win, and you do some winning?
I think the bottom line is, and I agree with you, the bottom line is you play the offense that suits your personnel.
Right.
And if they have 2-3 running backs that can get the job done, maybe you need to play the wishbone. But I understand where you're coming from. If the ball's getting thrown around, you're scoring 50 points a game, yeah, that's one thing. It's pretty exciting to be on that offense. You can pat yourself on the back. But the bottom line is, not every team can do that.
That's true.
That's the point.
Right.
Not every team is Hanover Central that can score 50 in the first quarter.
Looking at you, Boone Grove, but yeah, But at the same time, we always talk about it in about a month. It's going to be the main talking point for you guys. So I'm predicting the future here. It's Northwest Indiana football, right? It's handing the ball off to your running back. It's 6 yards in a cloud of dust, kind of a thing. Maybe a cloud of mud, depending on how the weather shakes out. Knock on wood, no rainouts yet. But with that, wouldn't you think a Griffith would do pretty well? Or we see Lowell. Maybe not this year, but, most years, like, it becomes Lowell football season as the season wears on, that the high-scoring teams, the high-flying teams across Northwest Indiana really start to, come down when it comes to being able to move the football in the colder weather. But shouldn't a Griffith Bone or somebody else who's got maybe a high-octane, high-powered running offense or style of offense really be able to start to pick up steam as the season progresses? But we don't see that happen.
Well, we don't, but look at Munster. Munster comes in with this option offense all of a sudden, and they were not very good the last 2 years.
Right.
This year, they have turned this whole thing around. Now, is it the fact that they have more talented athletes? Is it the fact that their coach decided that I have the talent to run this offense so that I can play with, or we can play with, the better teams? That's really the key. If you don't have the athletes, that the Justin Marshalls and people like that from Maryville who can run all over the field, you got to play, like Ben said, you've got to play with what you have. You can't recruit in high school.
That's right.
Yeah, sort of. But you can't recruit in high school.
Not legally, at least.
Yeah. So I think that, Griffith just needs to find their footing. And, Robert Robinson, the coach there, I think he does a good job.
Oh, sure.
But you've got to have athletes to do that with.
We also need to keep in mind here, folks, there is no shame in losing to Hanover Central right now.
No.
This team is they're on another level. And there's a reason why they're going to be moving up a weight class here very, very shortly.
Next year.
Next year, right. So they are an excellent team. And so I'm not looking at this game as in, what is Griffith doing improperly? I'm looking at this game going, holy cow, Hanover Central, you're incredible. And they really deserve a lot of the accolades that they're getting.
You know who does deserve the accolades also is Coach Parker.
Right.
He has turned that program around. He has really instilled with those kids the work in the weight room and all of that type of stuff. And he's been able to implement his program with the talent he has.
So I wonder this then, when you see a Hanover, when you see a Maryville, obviously they're looking at the teams that are winning state championships or at least making it down to the Hoosier Lucas Oil, and they see, it's a Southern Indiana high-flying team because the weather is warm. They're not really getting 35 degrees in November rain down there. They're getting 55 and fair winds, right? It's not bad weather. So do those teams then start to, over the course of time, it's much like when a team wins a Super Bowl or when a team wins a World Series or a Stanley Cup. What do? You want to emulate how that team was built and designed.
Right.
Do region coaches see that then and try to start skewering their play calling and the shifting in the style of play to what they see works more often than not when it comes to Indianapolis?
I don't think so. I think that if you follow college recruiting at all, which I dabble in some of my other media jobs, the Indianapolis center of population is one of the most fertile zones for college football. Now, don't get me wrong. We're not necessarily spitting out 5-star athletes there going to Alabama and things like that. There's been some of them are going to Notre Dame, some of these high-power programs. But there are dozens upon dozens of lower Division I, MAC schools, Group of 5 type schools, and they're playing a lot of college athletes. They're spitting them out there, and so you see a lot of that Indianapolis area talent is really hard to come by when you're in Northwest Indiana, a lesser population center. A lot of our population in this greater metropolitan area is really Chicago, so they're not playing in Indiana. But don't get me wrong, we still have Division I athletes here. It's just when can you pair them together? When you have 2 or 3 Division I athletes on one team, that's when you do a lot of damage, and that's when you can move downstate.
And just to answer your question about do you see the coaches starting to look to emulate that?
Yeah.
I don't think so because, again, number one, you play inside for the championships. It's on turf. It's on a nice field. You got a dome above you.
Right.
I don't think that you change your whole program up here to hope you can get down to there and play on that grass.
Yeah.
I don't think you do that. Like we were just saying, you got to have the athletes. And if Indianapolis area has the athletes, maybe more so in number than we do, that's never, I don't care what program you run, you're going to run into problems with that.
So if Warren Central ran the wishbone, they'd probably still do all right.
I would imagine they'd do just fine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But, they're also an established program. Yeah. And you have circumstances where these teams are established. Look at Andrean right now. They're an established program. People want to come play for Andrean.
Right.
They're recruiting students that come in there, and, they just happen to be good athletes that can
Funny
take
how
care
that
of
works out.
Hey, it works out. But you know what? They are a good program. They're well coached. They're disciplined. They are good people there. They are good students there. And so, they're an established program. Look at Maryville. Maryville's an established program.
Right.
Valparaiso over the last few years has been an established program. Go ahead.
Really quick. You've got Andrean, right? Located in Maryville. You've got Maryville, a high population area. You've got Valpo, a high population area. You've got Crown Point, a high population area, at least for Northwest Indiana. And I think that probably bodes to Wayne's point that schools that are in high population areas, you're going to tend to get just more athletes, better athletes, a higher tier of athletes than you are at a probably more rural school.
Right, but then again, some of these rural schools that are really well coached in our area are really disciplined and can prove a lot of success. We've got Rensselaer, we've had Lowell, we have New Prairie right now, which is out just past Laporte. We have
Hanover.
Those are quote unquote rural schools. You've got Cedar Lake in there, you've got DeMont,
or Judson,
or Judson, St. Pierre, right? Those areas are not high population areas, but you know what? They've been powerhouse football programs. So.
But they're also, aside from Hanover, they're also a lot of legacy football programs.
Right.
So, these kids' dads ran the same offensive system circa 1996 that they're running now in 2022.
Right.
And it's the same kind of concept where you grew up, you grew up watching the single back, double
power eye,
and the 2 tight end set kind of setups.
Sure.
You grew up watching those, emulating those. You played those same plays in Pop Warner. You ran those same plays in middle school. You ran those same plays on the freshman team. You ran those same plays on the JV team, and now you're running them on varsity. And at that point, when you're 16, 17, 18 years old, you've been running those plays for the last 6, 7, 8 years in school. It's no wonder that it's like, okay, at that point, even if you aren't a great athlete, again, what we talked about earlier in the evening, the execution of the play call
Right.
The adjustments that a coach can make, I think probably, at least in Northwest Indiana, would you guys agree, disagree, probably comes down to the greater success of the team than just any sort of one athlete or multiple athletes on a team.
Oh, absolutely. There are 11 players on each side of the ball, and the coach needs to put them in the right position to succeed.
Yep.
And whether that's hard work, discipline, like you said, running the same plays since elementary school. Those are very serious things that end up making your team more efficient. A lot of you folks that follow me on different social media realize I'm kind of a movie guy, and I love comedies, I love horror movies, I just love everything. One of the movies that I really like, there's a sports movie. It's called Semi-Pro. It's about basketball. It's a Will Ferrell movie, and he ran the being coached by Woody Harrelson. They ran a play called the Puke, where they just drilled it into everybody's head and they could run it in their sleep. And so that's what some of these programs are doing. So with that in mind, let's move on to some updates here. We've got Chuck DeMoss calling in from Kankakee and Munster. Chuck, what's going on?
Yeah, Munster just tied this game up on a 9-yard run from quarterback A.J. Preboy. Extra point was Preboy. Yeah, sorry about that, A.J. But, yeah, the extra point was good, and that's where we stand at 14-14 with about 40 seconds to go in the third quarter. KV does have the ball down on Munster's 30-yard line. They got an excellent kickoff return and brought it all the way back down to the 40. And that's where we stand right now with the tie game with 33 seconds to go in the third quarter.
So, Chuck, how did Munster get the drive done?
They ran the ball. I mean, they've been moving up and down the field pretty good tonight on KV. They got one kid over 100 yards tonight, so they've moved the ball well tonight, as KV has not moved the ball well.
Okay. All right, one more time, Chuck, the score update.
We are tied at 14-14 with just a few seconds to go in the third quarter, and KV has the ball on their Munster 28-yard line.
All right.
Fourth down coming up.
All right, thank you, Chuck. Appreciate the update. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Okay, guys.
All right, we'll go from Chuck DeMoss to Gary Graben. Gary, what's going on?
Out to Route 2 to the Inferno after having a touchdown called back on a penalty. Hobart would not be denied his second touchdown pass of the evening. Noah Ehrlich, an 18-yard touchdown pass, extra point good, 21-7 Hobart with 2:36 to go in the third quarter.
That's pretty much the worst-case scenario for Lowell right now, getting down 2 scores. Do you think that Lowell has it in them to come back from this?
You know, clearly on the side of Hobart. You know, they've had a touchdown called back. They've had a play called back inside the 20. Really offensively have been doing some domination here. So this is going to be a rough go for Hobart. They may need, for Lowell, they may need Hobart to commit a turnover, because I don't know if just being able to piece together 2 long drives is in the future here.
All right, Gary. Any other updates from some of the games you've been following?
I've got the Valpo one coming up. I'll call you back in a little bit.
All right, thanks, Gary. I appreciate it. All right, so it seems like Hobart's kind of taking a little bit of control of this game. Not surprising right now, but I think Lowell's going to have to make some big plays to come back here.
Well, I agree with Gary, and this is unusual, but I agree with Gary that Lowell is going to have to play air-free football, and they're going to have to cause turnovers. Now, they're capable of doing that.
Sure.
But they're going to have to cause Hobart to turn the ball over to be able to get to at least 1 score in the fourth quarter.
Anything can happen when it's only 1 score. And no, these are 2 rush-happy offenses right now. And Hobart, without having their running back in the game, they've been having to throw the ball a little bit more, but it is being fortuitous for them. They are up by 2 scores, so it's going to be pretty interesting to see what Lowell can do. We know they can run the ball. Passing the ball, they've struggled a little bit, but they do have that ability, so it's going to be interesting. They're going to have to score quick, but they're going to have to be efficient.
Yeah, and, you don't want to get too down on Lowell right now. Right. I mean, because all it takes is 1 score, maybe a field goal, and you're, down on just a few then. Lowell has the capability of keeping the ball away from Hobart.
Right.
But Hobart has to make sure they don't turn the ball over.
They got to chew up that clock as well. So, so definitely a couple games that are really tight here. One game that was not so tight and continues on is Crown Point doing what they always do so far this year.
Can we put on hold for an update?
They are in a situation where they're dominating and they're taking care of business against Portage.
Right, 35-7. Crown Point leads Portage, and every week, you look at the scoreboard, you look at the games, and you think, when is that bubble going to burst for Crown Point?
Right.
It's not.
It's not.
No, they've got too good of a coaching staff. They've got athletes over there, and they just continue to put points on the board.
Keep in mind what Chris Bazia has been doing down there. He's pulling in head coaches of other programs to be assistant for him. That is a tremendous thing he's doing down there. And the training regimen and the weight room and the work ethic that he's shown, they're really impressive down there.
I think Zach Wells is one of his assistants, and he used to be the head coach at Maryville.
Maryville, right. Well, speaking of Maryville, we're going to go up to Reed Amons with an update of Michigan City versus Maryville. Reed, what's going on out there? Reed, are you there? Reed, can you? There he is. We got him.
Good evening. Yep, just got put back on. So just an update here in Maryville. We talked about that opening drive as being very important for Michigan City, but the Pirate defense came up big and forced a 3-and-out. That forced a punt that was fielded by Maryville and then returned inside the 40-yard line of Michigan City. Maryville's on the drive right now. There was just an injury timeout for a Michigan City player. But Maryville already on top, 21-10. There's 8:30 to go here in the third quarter. Maryville's got the ball first and 10 from the Michigan City 11-yard line. So knocking on the doorstep once again for the Pirates. Already had 21-10 as we just get started here in the third quarter.
All right, Reed, thank you for the updates. We appreciate it. We let us know when there's a score and give us an update.
Will do, guys. And Maryville just took the ball inside the 5-yard line, so hopefully I'll be talking to you soon.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you, Reed.
Hey, Reed, can we'll keep you on hold really quick, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, we'll put Reed on hold there, and then we'll move on to Tim Hogan with an update on Boone Grove versus Wheeler. Tim, what's going on?
Wheeler just intercepted the ball at the Wheeler 5-yard line, so they'll have first and 10 on the 5. Wheeler took the second half kickoff and drove about 70 yards with a 24-yard touchdown reception to Bryce Compton from Keegan Keel to make the score 19-7. The 2-point conversion was no good.
All right.
Tim, did you see who did the interception or got the interception?
Actually, I'm going to wipe that interception off the board, Wayne, because it was Bryce Compton that had the interception. We have a roughing the passer penalty.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
So that's going to give Boone, it should be half the distance, so it should be first and goal around the 9-yard line. 5:42 left in the third.
All righty. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate the update. Looking forward to hearing more from you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll move on to Gary Graben. Gary, what do you got going on?
Out to Valpo we go, and after a third quarter that really was bogged down here, not much offense. The defense is really asserting themselves here. A scoreless third quarter leaves the score here still at 13-6 Valpo with 11:47 to go in this game.
So it sounds like Chesterton is really stepping up their game in this rivalry matchup.
Well, certainly defensively they are on the mark here tonight. I mean, this has been a great defensive performance for Chesterton. Again, they're going to have to get over the hump here to get something here in the last 11 minutes. But, again, they have hung around, and when you're the underdog, you want to hang around and then have your shot in the fourth quarter. So they have done what they needed to. I'm just a little surprised how low-scoring this game is tonight.
Sometimes even the most efficient offenses have those days where they meet up with a very impassioned defense. It seems like that's what's happening up there in Valpo.
You have two defenses here that are really bringing it tonight.
All right, one more time, Gary. What's the score?
13-6 Valpo over Chesterton with 11:47 remaining in the game.
All right, thank you, Gary. I appreciate it. All right, we're going to go from Gary back to Reed Amons and see what Reed's got an update for us. Reed, how's this game going?
Well, when you guys put me on hold, apparently you spoke too loudly and you put this game on hold because Maryville got the ball inside the 2-yard line, and then a false start by the Pirates pushed the ball back to the 7, and then lined up in a formation Coach Cease was not very pleased with, so he is forced to burn a timeout. But there's 6:52 to go here in the third quarter. Maryville's already on top, 21-10. They're facing a 3rd down and 6 from the 7-yard line. They actually just broke the timeout, so Maryville's coming back to the line, facing a 3rd and 6. They're obviously going to be looking to probably pass the ball here to try to get the ball into the end zone, so they do not have to attempt a field goal.
Reed, how about a little play-by-play?
Sure, no problem. So the Pirates have come to the line. They're changing the line. They're audibling here from the coaching staff. 2 wide left, 2 wide right. Justin Marshall in the backfield. The pass is thrown to Philip Roche in the end zone, but it falls incomplete. So Maryville is going to be facing a 4th and 6, and they're trotting out the field goal team. So they're going to be attempting just about it looks like maybe a 23, 24-yard field goal here with just under about 6:48 to go here in quarter number 3.
All right, Reed, we're going to go ahead and put you back on hold, and we'll come back to you after the conclusion of this play, and we'll come back to Kevin Driscoll with an update from Hanover. Kevin, what's going on?
Oh, yeah, we are under 3 minutes to go in this one with a running clock, and Griffith is on the board. It is 47-7 Hanover Central, but Griffith just capped a 53-yard scoring drive with a 6-yard Connor Cervantes touchdown run, and he is also the homecoming king tonight. So there you go. A touchdown on the board for the homecoming king, as well as a 6-yard touchdown run. And there we go. 47-7. Hanover is going to improve to 5-0. Griffith drops to 1-4. A couple of things I want to throw in here for you. Hanover Central has now outscored their opponents through 5 games, 184-0 in the first half of those games.
My goodness.
All three of the scores given up by Hanover Central this season have come against their JV defense. They've given up 18 points this season.
All right, Kevin. It seems like this game is pretty well in hand. One more time, what is the score update?
47-7 with 2 minutes to go and a running clock second half. And like you mentioned, I think last week, really looking forward to that Week 9 matchup against Calumet.
Yeah, all right. He's got a couple weeks yet to go. So thanks, Kevin.
I will call you. I understand you watched Coach Parker after this one?
Yes, that'd be great.
We'll call you from the field.
All right. Thank you much, Kevin. All right, we're going to go back to Reed Amons with an update from Maryville, Michigan City. Reed, how'd that kick go?
Yeah, the 24-yard field goal was good by Martinez on the Pirate side. So that put Maryville back on top by 2 touchdowns. They now lead 24-10. There's 6:45 to go here in quarter number 3, and Pirates ahead by 2 touchdowns, 24-10. Michigan City's actually got a really nice kickoff return. They're going to be outside of the 25-yard line here to start their next possession. But 6:35 to go here in quarter number 3. Maryville on top of Michigan City, 24-10.
All right, thank you, Reed. Appreciate the update. Looking forward to hearing more from you.
Sounds good, guys.
All right, thank you much. All right, with that being said, a lot of excitement, and because of that, we're going to need to catch our breath. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break on 89.1 FM, The Lakeshore.
You're listening to 89.1 FM, Lakeshore Public Radio. Listener-supported public radio in Northwest Indiana. WLPR FM Lowell.
This is Game Night on 89.1 FM, The Lakeshore, listener-supported public radio.
Lakeshore Public Radio's fiscal year comes to an end on September 30th, and the Crown Point Community Foundation has generously proposed a $1 for $2 matching grant during this fall membership campaign. So we need your help right now to raise $10,000 and unlock an additional $5,000 grant from the Crown Point Community Foundation. So please, donate today at lakeshorepublicradio.org and help us finish strong. Thank you.
It's jazz and western swing from the Hot Club of Cowtown, plus our favorite milk cow songs. Then Los Senzanlis talk and sing about their Mexican-American roots and branches, collaborating with Linda Ronstadt, Jackson Brown, and Los Lobos. It's Milk Cows and Mockingbirds on American Roots from PRX.
Tune in Saturday night at 9 here on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM.
And now, your game night scoreboard update.
Good evening, everybody. This is Andrew Johnson for Lakeshore Game Night. Let's take a look at what's going on around the region. Starting out in the Duneland Conference, we have Valpo leading Chesterton 13-6. Crown Point is a 35-7 lead over Portage. Laporte and Lake Central are still tied at 7. As you just heard from Dr. Reed Amons, Maryville now has a 24-10 lead over Michigan City. In the NCC Conference, Hobart now leads Lowell 21-7. KV and Munster are tied up at 14. In the Greater South Shore Conference, Hanover, as you just heard from Kevin Driscoll, leads Griffith 47-7. Wheeler has a 19-7 lead over Boone Grove. Lake Station still has that 6-0 lead over Bishop Knoll. River Forest has a 7-0 lead over Whiting. Calumet leads East Chicago 14-0. We have a final from the Tri-County South Noon game. South Noon won 36-6. West Central beat North Noon 42-0. Hammond Central beat Pioneer 32-22. Or no, that game is still going on. West Lafayette leads Rensselaer 47-7. North Judson beat Winamac 45-0. And we would like to remind everybody that tomorrow night, Morton plays Westside. For Lakeshore Game Night, this is Andrew Johnson.
This is Game Night on 89.1 FM, The Lakeshore, listener-supported public radio.
Lakeshore Public Radio's fiscal year comes to a close on September 30th, and the Crown Point Community Foundation has generously proposed a $1-for-$2 matching grant during this fall membership campaign. So we need your help right now to raise $10,000 and unlock an additional $5,000 grant from the Crown Point Community Foundation. Please donate today at lakeshorepublicradio.org and help us finish strong. Thank you.
My name is Maddie, and I live in Louisville, Kentucky, and I love Bullseye because the way that Jesse Thorne interviews everyone, it really seems like there are questions that they've never been asked before.
I'm Jesse Thorne. This week, Christine Baranski from The Good Fight, plus folk legend Loudon Wainwright. That's on the next Bullseye from MaximumFun.org and NPR.
Tune in Saturday night at 6 here on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM.
Some things, in order to truly understand, you can't experience vicariously. At a remove or on the TV, no, sometimes you have to pick up and go. On the next Snap Judgment, Thin Ice. Ice, the biggest story you've never heard of. Snap Judgment. Do not miss it.
Saturday at 11 and Sunday at noon here on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM.
This is folk singer Michael Jonathan inviting you to this week's very special broadcast. The New York Times says she's the queen of bluegrass for a good reason. An entire hour with Rhonda Vincent and The Rage.
Lonely rivers flow to the sea, to the sea.
It's music and conversation on this week's broadcast of the Woodsides Old Time Radio.
Tune in Sunday morning at 4 here on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM.
This is Game Night on 89.1 FM, The Lakeshore, listener-supported public radio. And now, the Game Night broadcast team.
All right, Ben Kolodzinski back with you with Tom Maloney and Wayne Svetnoff. I want to say thank you to Jessica Wilasinski, the owner of Stefano's Pizza in Crown Point, for feeding the entire game night crew tonight. Stefano's is home of the Sauce Boss, makes some of the best homemade dough and sauce around. Jessica will be celebrating her 8th anniversary as owner of Stefano's Pizza November 16th. Stefano's Pizza is located at 10709 Randolph Street in Crown Point, just outside of Lakes of the Four Seasons. You can call 219-663-6656 to place your order for game night pizza. Again, that is 219-663-6656. Excellent pizza.
They were the first official food sponsor for game night 14 years ago.
Wow.
There you go. There's the trivia for you.
There you go.
And not just one night like we have now, where it's somebody new each week. They were it for the entire season. I think for the first couple of seasons, actually. So, just letting it be known that they are an OG. That's an original.
Can't get enough of that.
Is.
That's right.
Also, you can't get enough of NIPSCO either,
right?
Because
we need it.
Yeah,
we need that to survive.
They definitely have been with us for 14 years and more.
There was not a time before Lakeshore Public Radio, Wayne.
But they've been a big supporter of what we do, and not only supporting us, but supporting many efforts around Northwest Indiana.
That's right.
And also keeping the lights on for us too. We appreciate that immensely.
God,
so,
yes.
Well, all right, we're going to go ahead. We're going to go to Andrew Ivanich from at the Crown Point game. Andrew, what's the update?
Hey guys, the third quarter just ended. We're in the fourth right now. Crown Point's still dominating. J.J. Johnson. What Crown Point does so well is they never go for the big pass. There's never the big bomb. It's always short, little 5-yard passes, run game, and it's big gains. That's a 5-yard pass with 20 yards after the touch.
Sure.
Something to note though is that Crown Point started to get a little bit sloppy in the third quarter. By the end, lots of bad penalties. Right now, the score is 42-7.
42-7. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Wayne.
Is J.J. Johnson, how many touchdowns does he have tonight?
Oh, boy. He's gotten about
4?
I think, 4 or 5 around there.
Okay. Great.
He's been doing with his on the running game and on the passing game. He's just such a threat, It's so difficult. It's so difficult to defend him if you're a defense. I don't know what you do.
I totally agree. He's really matured, and he's just had an outstanding season.
Gary?
Yeah. Something else to note. The reason the Bulldogs have been having such a great year, their defense has just been they haven't. No team has been able to get anything started against them other than Winfield.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. One more time, what's the update?
What's that?
What's the score update?
42-7, Bulldogs up.
Great.
All right, thank you much. We're going to move from Crown Point. We're going to move down to Griffith, where Kevin Driscoll has a guest for us. Kevin, what's going on?
I do. Let me set the stage for you here. Hanover wins 47-7, avenges a 2020 loss at the Boneyard 2 years ago. That was the last time Hanover Central had lost a Greater South Shore Conference regular season game. And I'm here with Brian Parker. Hanover Central improves to 5-0, 5 running clock games. So I'm going to turn things over to Coach Parker, and I'll let you guys do the question and answers.
All right, Coach, congratulations on a great victory. How are you today?
Pretty good. Thank you so much.
So you guys jumped out to a quick lead. Is that key to your success today?
I mean, I think if you asked any head football coach, getting out to a quick lead is beneficial to your team's success in regards to a game. So, we always we do some things throughout the course of the week to really prompt us to get into to get to a good start. So, boys did a really good job. We got a takeaway on the opening kickoff, and then scored in 3 plays, and then we were off and running from there.
Coach, I am so impressed with your program in the sense that, it looks like the players really enjoy playing together. Tony Bartolomeo was excellent in the early season at quarterback. He is willing to, without a doubt, willing to give up that position to Matt Coots when he came back. Coots had, at least 2 touchdowns tonight. You've got to be happy with your team and how they get along and how they are so strong together.
we have a lot of guys who've played Friday night football for us. You know, we have 15 to 22 starters coming back off an 11-2 team from last year. In regards to Tony, Tony's one of our captains. He's obviously a coach's son. He's been around the game his whole life. I can tell you without hesitation that the decision to move Tony out from the quarterback position was not something taken lightly. I just said to Kevin, I feel though we made the move to put Matt at quarterback just because I feel like our offense gets better, not only because Matt's at quarterback, but because we put Tony back outside a receiver. I know he caught a few passes. He caught a nice little fade in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. So it speaks to what kind of character, what kind of young man he is, what kind of worker he is. And, he's someone who puts the team first. And the production that he had the first few games, it was something that exceeded our entire offensive staff's production. So we're really proud of Tony.
Coach, your offense gets a lot of accolades. Let's talk about your defense a little bit. They've been equally as impressive so far this year.
Well, Coach Grzanko and our defensive staff, we're big up front and we can run on the back end. Obviously we've got Gannon, who seems like he's been playing high school football for 10 years. Our other safety is Dylan Bowen. I'm sure we all know who his older brother is, and our corners are Rocco Bartolomeo and Jacob Straminsky, and our linebackers are strong, fast guys as well. And I don't know if you guys know. I know we've given up 13 points in the first 5 games, but our starting varsity defense has not allowed a single point through the first 5 games of the season. So, if we can continue to do that, I think we'll end up doing some pretty good things this year.
That is a recipe for success, after all.
No question.
Well, you've got to be really happy with this. The kids playing so well. I know this was the last time, I believe, you lost when you played Griffith or something like that, and you had to have a lot of motivation going into this game.
I think any time that you play Griffith, if you can't get up to play Griffith in a football game, there's something wrong with you, obviously, with the storied tradition that they have here. So, we took this week very, very seriously, and we knew that, if we didn't play our best brand of football, that we could find ourselves in a game. And I'm just proud of our coaches and our players and the approach that they took once they got on the bus from Hanover Central to here, and we were locked in, ready to go.
All right, Coach, you've absolutely thrilled the Hanover faithful here. Is there anything else you want to add before we let you go?
Go Cats.
All right, easy enough. All right, congratulations, Coach.
Thank you, fellas. Have a good night.
You as well. Bye-bye. All right, we're going to go from Kevin Driscoll to Reed Amons on line 3. Reed, what's going on out there?
Yeah, so Maryville gets on the scoreboard once again. A Jalen Thomas pass, 16 yards. Extra point was good. That put the Pirates up 31-10. But on the ensuing kickoff, the Pirates go for a pooch kick, and the coverage outran the kick. Michigan City catches the ball on the fly and just skirts right into the end zone.
Oh,
the
wow.
extra point was good there. So 31-17, Pirates lead. We're in the last few minutes here of the third quarter. There's about 4:41 to go here in quarter number 3. Pirates on top, 31-17 over Michigan City.
Reed, did you know who picked the ball up and ran it into the end zone for Michigan City?
I got a number for you, Wayne. It's number 20 for Michigan City, but I did not get a name.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
We'll get that.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the update, Reed. We'll looking forward to hearing more from you as the game rolls on.
All right, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Reed. We'll move on from Reed and we'll go to Gary Graben. Gary, what do you got going on out there?
We got scoring all over the place here. First at Valpo, Justin Clark, a 6-yard touchdown run. Another missed extra point for Valpo tonight, so 19-6 was the score there. But the same tandem for Chesterton, Sebastian Boswell, and Garrett Lewis, this time from 5 yards out. They made their extra point, so it is now 19-13 Valpo with 7 minutes to play. And if we go down to the Inferno, the key play maybe of the game, Lowell was 4th and 2 at the Hobart 3. Everybody in the stadium knew who was going to get the ball, and so did the Chesterton defense, and they stopped Riley Bank in the backfield for a loss, turning the ball over. Hobart is up 21-7 with into the fourth quarter here. So again, a key stop there to keep Lowell out of the end zone.
that's not what Lowell needed. Lowell needed to score efficiently, and they've given the ball back to a run-first thinking Hobart offense right now.
Yep.
Well, with 10:13 to go, again, this is going to be dribble the clock out. Again, just dare Lowell to have to score 2 touchdowns driving the field. No mistakes. Make them drive 60, 70, 80 yards. And now it's a little bit of rope-a-dope, I think, for Hobart here just to hold on with their 2-score lead.
I really am impressed with Chesterton coming back. Certainly, Valpo leads this one 19-13, but Chesterton comes back and makes it another 7-point game. So if they take it down,
6-point game.
6-point game. So they score this. That's right. So this time,
I was told there'd be no math, so don't worry about that.
I'm glad I didn't teach it, but I'm really impressed with Chesterton.
So am I. And again, it seems Sebastian Boswell has now taken over as the starting quarterback. And we've talked about Garrett Lewis. He's a guy who can do it physically running. He catches the ball very well out of the backfield. And again, it's going to be an interesting 7 minutes here down to the finish.
All right, Gary, one more time the updates on these two games.
At Valpo, with 7 minutes to play, it's the Vikings 19 and the Trojans 13. And down in Lowell, it is Hobart 21 and Lowell 7.
All right, thanks, Gary. Keep us up to speed.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you much. All right, we've got some of these games starting to go final here. We've got Andrew Avanich here at Crown Point. Andrew, what is the update?
The game just ended. To nobody's surprise, the Bulldogs ended up winning 42-7, beating Portage. Undeniable MVP of the game, J.J. Johnson. He dominated from the second he stepped on the field.
Why do you think he dominated? Was it his running? Was it his passing? Was it a combination? What did he do?
His mobility allows him to get a lot of open men for these little short passes, And once when he gets those screen passes and those little short 5 yards plays, the defense just isn't able to stop the receivers. They're too fast too,
Right. So they're putting themselves in position to take advantage of the Portage defense.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to next week when Crown Point plays Valpo. That's going to be a good game.
It should be a good game, and who knows, depending on how Valpo does this week, that could end up being the game of the week. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Andrew, thank you for your update. Appreciate it. So Crown Point takes care of business, 42-7. A 35-point victory. That's really impressive against, a Portage team that was, kind of getting their feet underneath them.
Yeah, Portage, has played better this season.
Sure.
But, there's some teams in that Duneland, whether it be Crown Point, Maryville, and Valpo. I don't care who you are. That's tough to go against them.
Absolutely. It's a tough out, and those happen to be your 1, 2, and 3 teams here in your top 10 rankings.
Right.
Well-deserved, and those teams are going to start thinning themselves out because they're going to start playing each other starting next week. And so it's going to be very interesting how that works. So there's no shame in losing to a Crown Point team, and this Crown Point team's really buzzing along.
Yeah, they really are, and I'm still holding out for a Chesterton Valpo close one at the very end. I mean, that could go either way. Valpo is only up 19-13, so
right.
That's going to be a good one.
So, really quick, we got the update from Kevin Driscoll on the final for that Hanover-Griffith game. Just an absolute blowout. Of course, Crown Point Portage a blowout as well. This time of the year, do you want a blowout? Do you want to start resting starters halfway through the season in week 5? Do you want them to get more reps to go ahead and get ready, or do you want them to make sure they got fresh legs for the postseason? What's the thinking here in terms of these types of games, or is it just I don't want to say this is just
too early.
It's too early to rest them?
Yeah, it's too early, way too early. I can understand resting them maybe the second to the last game of the regular season, maybe the last game of the regular season. I can understand that philosophy. But when you have a score like 47-7, you cannot keep playing your starters.
Right.
I don't think that's a choice.
Yeah.
I think that's just being, good sportsmanship.
Right.
So you're going to have to play your backups. So they're going to get experience.
Right.
All right. But just to purposely pull your starters for rest, it's too early.
Right. I would say any coach wants a lopsided victory. You know,
Yeah.
they don't want a game in doubt. No one wants to have that blood pressure rise and get that heartburn.
Right.
But I'll say this much: they are pretty much pulling their starters around halftime, if not in the third quarter, for the simple sake of yes, it's sportsmanship. Nobody wants to make an enemy out there right now.
Right.
Familiarity breeds contempt. But likewise, you don't want your starters getting hurt either. So I don't think it's about fatigue at this point. And the rundown, but anytime you get an opportunity to make sure your team is sharp, and if you're winning by 40 points, you're doing pretty good. In order to save the legs of your starters, you might want to give them a little bit of a break, but I don't think it's for the sake of energy. I think it's for the sake of strategy.
Yeah.
So it's been a pretty exciting week so far. We've had a couple blowouts, but the bottom line is we're starting to talk about special teams here. I don't know what the mishaps have been going on. There's been so many missed extra points, and right now Valpo, who was up by 7, after trading some touchdowns, are now only up by 6. A touchdown and an extra point, a point after touchdown, would end up being a game changer and giving Chesterton the lead. What is going on with special teams right now?
I really don't know because Chesterton and Valpo, especially Valpo, has been known for their special teams play. They have been known for their kickers. Chesterton too had, a number of big-time kickers over there. And I just don't understand, is it the fact that, these special teams coaches have turned over and gone to other programs? Is it the fact that maybe those two schools aren't taking soccer players now?
Maybe.
As much? I don't really know, but they've got to get this fixed before the last games of the season.
Right, and it's not just kicking; it's also returning. We've seen Michigan City run a kickoff back for a touchdown. We've seen Kankakee Valley run a kickoff back for a touchdown. Kankakee Valley also ran a punt back for a touchdown. We've seen multiple extra points missed. The weather is good for kicking right now. There's no wind.
Beautiful.
It's warm and it's dry. It's very interesting to see multiple teams have multiple special teams mishaps in the same week. For whatever reason, this is the week of special teams.
Yeah, it really is. Or, the lack of production of special teams.
Right, exactly right. And they put in just as much work as everyone else.
Oh, yeah.
So it's nothing I'm not ragging on the kids here, but it's very strange that almost all of the mistakes that we are seeing are coming on special teams. So it's very interesting to keep our eyes on. So Hanover Central does what they do. They took care of business. We talked to Coach. He was very humble and proud of his kids for the cohesiveness there, and he's definitely done a good job making sure that team's very, very sharp. What do you think is the key to them staying focused?
Well, I believe the last 2 games of the season for Hanover Central down the road, I know Calumet's the last one.
Right.
You've got to be looking towards it. You can't. I know the coach speak is we play 1 week at a time,
right.
But kids are kids, and they're going to look down the schedule just like pundits are pundits, and we're going to look down the schedule. Right. It's one of those things where you've got to look down, and I think the coaches can use it as a motivator. I mean, in the sense that okay, we're blowing this team out because they have a down year,
right?
But we've got people down in our schedule that can play with us. So we need to be focused on what we do each and every week to perfect what we do.
Absolutely. I think you got to be sharp, and that's why you practice. That's why you play these games. All right, we're going to move on from back to Tim Hogan with an update at Boone Grove at Wheeler. Tim, what's going on?
Well, since I last talked to you, it's been quite a change of events. Wheeler was up 19-7 the last time I talked to you. At that point, Boone Grove put a drive together that ended with a Ben Taborski 9-yard touchdown reception from Mark Rowland. Wheeler then came back with a nice little drive, attempted a 40-yard field goal. It was partially blocked, And unfortunately, Wheeler forgot that's a live ball, and Corey Noonan picked it up and ran it back 80 yards for a touchdown.
Oh, my goodness.
Extra point was good, and it's now Boone Grove 21, Wheeler 19, with just under 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Quite a turn of events. So it's ended up being a special teams score for Boone Grove to take the lead here.
Exactly. And in fact, I'm sitting up here running the clock with the guys up here, and as soon as the ball was blocked and everybody started standing there, and I yelled, I said, "That's a live ball." And sure enough, Boone picked it up and ran it back 80 yards.
Quite the turn of events here, Tim. Who has the ball now?
Boone just took over. They have it 2nd and 10 from their own 40. The other key thing that happened here is Keegan Keogh, who was having a great game, got blindsided pretty hard on a roughing the passer, and he is out of the game. Caleb Funzak is now in the game at quarterback.
Oh, so we hope the best for that young man, and we hope that he's okay. One more time, Tim, what is the score, update, and time?
It is 21-19, Boone Grove over Wheeler. 9:10 left in the fourth quarter.
All right, thanks, Tim. Keep around, and looking forward to hearing from you. So,
you got it.
Hey, Wayne.
Yep.
Another special teams score.
Right.
What is going on here? What is going on?
This is a real surprise. I mean, I don't know what Wheeler was thinking.
I don't know either.
What Wheeler was thinking.
40-yard field goal? I mean, that's incredible.
And they blocked it.
Right?
They just stood there and watched it.
So our resident Boone Grove fan is pretty excited.
I was just
right
clearing
now.
my throat there on the airwaves, not celebrating
hey, it's
from
still
the
time
press
to
box.
play. Still time to play.
10 minutes too long to play, if you ask me.
Well, yeah, that's why we play the game, right?
That's right.
All right, speaking of a game that doesn't have any left to be played, we got Chuck DeMoss with an update from Kankakee Valley. Chuck, what's going on?
Yeah, we just went final here, guys. The final score was Kankakee 30, Munster 14. This is how we got there. After I talked to you last, I think Munster had scored. Marco Castro ran one in from 1 yard out. That put KV up 21-14. On the kickoff, Munster fumbled the ball. KV got the ball on the 37-yard line. Didn't move it much, but Evan Mish kicked a 31-yard field goal to make it 24-14. Then time was just about running out with 2 minutes to go. Marco Castro ran one in from 68 yards out. Extra point was blocked. That's where the final score was. Kankakee Valley 30, Munster 14.
Chuck, what was the key to this game, you think?
The big plays, the punt return, and, they 3 returns to set them up for scores. 2 of them were 4 scores, and that last one that Lane Zander set them up for a short field on that Marco Castro first score. So the big plays on the returns was the difference in this game. KV did move the ball a little better in the second half, and they really shut Munster down in the second half as far as running the ball. So it kind of just flipped, where Munster ran the ball very well the first half, and KV couldn't do anything with it. Then kind of flipped a little bit in the second half. I think maybe Kurt Kennedy might have had a little attitude adjustment there at halftime. This was homecoming for KV tonight, too. I don't know if I mentioned that. But so KV come out second half and then took a charge and put it to them.
Well, a happy celebration for the Kankakee Valley School for homecoming. One more time, Chuck, what was that final?
Final score here was Kankakee Valley 30, Munster 14.
All right.
Next week, Kirk Kennedy goes back home to Lowell to play, so that'll be a big homecoming for him in some sort. So that'll be a big game for KV if they can keep their conference winning streak going, because it's going to be, like I say, these games are going to get tougher for KV and Munster both as they go through their conference.
So where are you going to be next week, Chuck? You going to be out in North
I will
Judson?
probably be at Lowell.
Oh, you'll be at Lowell. Okay.
Yeah, I'll probably go there.
That sounds like a good one, Chuck. And love to hear your update from that game. Should be a fun one.
Yeah, I think it should be, guys. So have a good week, and it was fun being here tonight. It was a great night, and I hope it is next week, too.
All right, Chuck.
Thanks,
thank you much.
Chuck.
All right, you bet.
I'm going to keep belaboring this point.
Yeah.
We have a blocked kick. We have a fumbled kickoff return. We've had multiple returns for touchdowns. 3 by my count, just off the top of my head. We've had a half dozen mixed extra points. This is the most special of special teams performances this weekend. Some good, some bad, but it's definitely not been very sharp.
And all of them game deciding.
Right.
One fashion or another.
That's
all
right.
of them have been game deciding.
Right. You know, it was a 2-score game here, this 14-30.
Yep.
Those 2 scores came from a 97-yard kickoff
And a
62-yard punt return.
Yeah.
And a fumble, on an ensuing kickoff.
Yep.
Led to points. That's it. Bada bing, bada boom. That's it. That's the game.
And Boone Grove takes a very late lead in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Because of special teams. And you see Hanover Central defer against Griffith, turn around and get the ball on the opening kickoff because of a fumble, score, and then kick the ball off again and still get it back in the second half in an absolute blowout. Sets the tone immediately. You know, and it's just one of those things where you're right. I think the theme tonight for you guys on Scoreboard is just how special are the special teams. And, are there a lot of special teams coaches this week going back to the drawing board? And are there a lot of special teams coaches going back and saying, I should be a head coach somewhere?
Definitely some head scratchers there. I wouldn't want to be one of these special teams coaches that had a rough night because you play offense, you play defense, and you play special teams. Right. You got to win 2 of the 3, and unless you get blown out completely on the other one, you're in good shape. But the special teams have loomed large this week.
They have, and it's that's the other thing too. We talk about special teams, and they are special this week. But at the same time, there are kids on the other end of those fumbles. There are kids on the other end of those missed extra points. And you want to give kudos to the guy who forced the fumble, and you want to give kudos to the guy who blocked the kick. But at the same time, the long snapper messed up, or the holder messed up,
Sure.
and these kids aren't professionals,
No.
right? They're not paid athletes. They are not, Some of them are fighting, for a scholarship maybe at the next level.
Right.
But, by and large, they're out there on a Friday night because they want to have fun. They love playing the game. So it's always, I don't want to say it's frustrating, especially when, your team is on the receiving end of said special teams blunders that allows them to go ahead and, pull in a lead or win a game. At the same time, though, you want the kids to still keep coming out.
Sure.
And
Sure.
It's tough because you win a game on other facets, but you lose it on special teams, and guys start looking at each other in the locker room like, could make a kick? What? You couldn't snap the football?
Right.
Like that happens. That happens.
And I don't like that. I really don't. So many times coaches will tell you, and it's not just trying to appease anybody. Coaches will say you don't lose a game 90% of the time on one play.
Right.
You missed that.
Right.
We could have done tons of things better to win this ball game.
Right.
And to take, and turn this into this special team did one error, one missed kick, or they fumbled.
Right.
That's not right. And I just don't, and I get real angry at, not angry, but I just don't think that, one missed kick or fumble is out of a 4-quarter game the only reason you lost.
I was actually on the receiving end of that once. Our starting running back fumbled it. Other team recovers, drives down the field, and I gave up an inside slant for a touchdown. The receiver got his body in front of me. I tried to get my arm wrapped around him. They threw the flag for defensive pass interference, but it didn't matter because the receiver caught it for the touchdown. We tied the game. And it was a final. It was a tie. And I remember in the locker room, guys were looking at me saying, "Why couldn't you make that play? Why couldn't you stop him?" And in my head, I'm like, "Why did the other guy fumble?
Right.
Why aren't you yelling at the running back?" But it's like you see it because you see it in real time where it's like they look in the locker room. They're like, "Well, you're the one." I'm like, well, you fumbled the football, and you blew a block, and you did something like it's a team effort, but it's like at the same time, I'm the guy who bore the brunt of the anger and the frustration because, I got beat. You got to admit when you got beat. I got beat on the inside, and he made the catch. nothing I could do about it, but I'm the one taking the fall for it, despite the fact that somebody else on the team and somebody else on the team and somebody else on the team. I don't know if it's just a natural thing for kids to do.
I think it's a natural thing for anybody.
Yeah, it
I
probably
don't think
is.
it's just kids. I mean, just think. If you would have actually knocked the ball down and
I still would have been called for pass interference.
Well, okay. All right, you're right there.
Yeah,
but,
they would have come right back to me, and we could beat this kid.
But if the kid makes a kick,
right,
then the crowd goes wild. They lift him up, and, you know. So
well, football is a sport of emotion, and you have 11 people that all have to be on the same page.
Yeah,
right.
Some players aren't stars, some players are, and some players can carry a team. Just like Gary Graben is carrying us right now. We've got him with some updates right now. Gary, what's going on?
Make sure Tom Maloney's okay there.
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that.
Was sort of
a therapy
get some things off his chest from 20 years ago.
I got some feelings, Gary.
And I think you're not naming names, but the Boone Grove people know.
I don't want to point fingers.
But a couple of amazing updates here, and I'm going to make it quick. The game at Valpo has gone final. Chesterton made one last run down the field, but a late interception sealed the deal. 19-13 final for Valpo. But out of the Inferno, dramatic changes. A bad snap on a punt gave Lowell deep possession in Hobart territory. They scored, making it 21-14. They pooch kicked. Hobart recovered, but was able to do anything, and they have punted back to Lowell, and Lowell's at midfield with about 1:20 to go, with a trailing by 7. So left for dead here. Lowell's got a chance. I'm going to get back to the sources here, and I will call you guys back shortly.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate the update. Looking forward to it.
Take care of Tom. I'm worried.
I will. We'll give him a hug.
Thank you.
We'll give him a shoulder to cry on.
Yeah, appreciate that. You got big shoulders, Ben.
I do.
I'm thankful for that.
So it seems like Valpo held on to win. Got a late interception. That game was awfully close, pretty exciting. But this game down in Lowell has become a lot more tight than we thought it was going to be.
And again, this has always been the case with Hobart and Lowell. They play tight games against each other. We've talked about this, it's never easy to play in the Inferno. The momentum seems to have swung for Lowell right now.
Right.
They're at the 50. Now is it important? Now's the time that Riley Bank and the Red Devils need to step up and make a statement.
Yeah, it's been there's 1 minute left in the game. And so there's going to be some really interesting updates here. I think that does Lowell have what it takes to score within 1 minute? Riley Bank has shown the ability to throw the ball, although it's not his go-to, but he has the ability to do it. So, who knows? Dynamic athletes can get the job done. 1 minute's a long time to play when an average play is 6 seconds long.
Problem is, Lowell doesn't have air Lowell offensively. But, like you said, Riley can throw the football. And all you need to do is get it down the field with enough time to get it in the end zone, whether it be a 10-yard touchdown, whether it be a 5-yard. That's all Riley has to do. And not turn it over, not force
right.
it.
The turnover would be obviously the worst possible thing you could do, but it doesn't take, but you don't need a bomb. You don't need to throw the ball 40 yards downfield.
That's right.
You get the ball, you dump it down 5 yards downfield, you break a tackle or two, and next thing you know, you're right there. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how Lowell handles this.
So really quick, obviously, Valpo wins. Arguably a must-win for Valpo in the midpoint of the season. Just because they got a tough road ahead here. Really quick, I guess we'll find out here about the Lowell update from Gary Graben.
Well, when last we checked in here, Lowell had the ball midfield, a little over a minute to go. They drove down the field, eventually getting down to the 14-yard line of Hobart. Were not able to do much on the first couple of downs. A 4th and 10 from the 14-yard line, an incomplete pass in the end zone. Hobart hangs on to beat Lowell 21-14.
Wow.
So after doing not much offensively, Lowell put some stuff together at the end, but not enough to close the deal here against Hobart.
Gary, what does it tell you that Lowell came back and they almost took care of business here at the end?
Well, we've talked over the years that, some of these programs where there are certain themes instilled, and we could name a lot of programs, but in Lowell, obviously, it's always about the toughness. It's about the never quitting type thing, and everybody talks about never quitting. But in my career of doing this, I've seen a lot of teams quit. And Lowell is one of those teams that doesn't quit. They are not a studly team this year. They are just a bunch of blue-collar guys who are trying their best to do things. They are battling all sorts of injuries. They had a couple more players go down tonight with seemingly serious injuries. But they are a team that is going to keep fighting till the end. It's a Rocky Balboa mentality. They are going to be there slugging it out at the end, and even if you beat them, they're not going to stop swinging. So we know what Lowell does. This is just a team for Lowell this year that is just not full of playmakers and pounding running backs like they normally have.
And that sort of thing's going to happen. My senior year at Valpo, we lost a lot of talent the year prior. And the one thing you can do is just be that blue-collar worker like you alluded to. You just got to keep working and keep pushing and keep, like you said, go down swinging. These are all cliches, but they are very important aspects to football. Sometimes the talent isn't there, but you know what Lowell is doing? They are improving. They are showing more and more fight and more resolve every week, and eventually that should translate to success.
Well, there is an immense game on Route 2 next week. If we can just peek ahead, I know we don't have everything in the scorebook yet this week, but there is an immense game because there's a guy named Kirk Kennedy who's coming back to the Inferno next Friday.
Right.
And this is a game that is going to have a lot of intensity. We know these are both very intense coaches, and it won't be lost, especially on the adults on both sides of the stadium, what this game means next week. So this is going to be intense. I think I'm really looking forward to that game next week. But again, for Lowell, just not quite enough tonight. Hobart did commit a lot of mistakes tonight. I mean, penalties calling back scores, more than one snap over the head of the quarterback, a snap over the head of the punter. This was a little bit of a sloppy performance for Hobart. But again, Lowell hung around just long enough to make it scary, but Hobart definitely has more playmakers on their side of the field.
Hey, Gary, you mentioned next week that Kirk Kennedy is going to return to Lowell. As some of us older folk remember, he did win a state title at Lowell what year was that? Do you remember?
Oh, it was 08, right?
09 in there somewhere. So he's obviously has some success there. How do you think he will be received in his return game?
Yeah, I think he's actually, it's hard to say, but I do think people will appreciate the effort he put forth there. Personally, I'm not much of a booer and stuff in my own personal fandom. I can only remember really booing once, and I'm going to leave that story out. It involved IU football, though, but I'm going to leave it out.
My man.
The idea here that, he won a state championship. How many schools do we know in Northwest Indiana that have never hung a football state championship banner, let alone any sport state championship banner?
Right.
So if you lead somebody to a state championship, again, pardon the analogy, but it's the Joe Madden thing in Chicago. I know he got released, but forever he'll be known as the manager of the Cubs who led them to that World Series title. Well, I think here, you can't forget that Kirk Kennedy did amazing work there at Lowell, and those teams were fun to watch when he was there. I'm sure there are some people that are upset about him leaving. On the flip side, there was a lot of pressure on Coach Kilmer when he started, so there's a lot of things involved here next week, least of which the coaches will tell you it's not going to be about anything with them next week, but we certainly know that most people who are in our age group or older will certainly be thinking back to that from the 2000s. So we'll see what happens, but I hope that they remember that they had one of the greatest experiences in their sports history with that man back about 14 years ago.
All right, Gary, thanks for your input. We'll be hearing more from you later in about 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, about 15 minutes, and then it'll be an amazing half hour. Tom Maloney on board. We'll see if he has more he needs to get off his chest.
Thank you, Gary.
Tom Maloney's going to talk about his problems here.
Hey, we're here to listen. After 10 o'clock, anything goes.
That's right.
All right, thanks, Gary. We'll talk to you soon. So that game got pretty binding there towards the end. Pretty impressive victory to hold on to for Hobart there. I really have to say, I got to give Lowell credit. They were dead to rights, and they almost forced overtime here.
That's right, and it's a great comeback for those kids. And their schedule doesn't get easier.
Nope.
I mean, KV is now 4-1,
right.
And they go into the Inferno, and so. That's going to be a great game. I don't know if it'll be our game of the week, but it's going to be a very good game. We'll have cameras down there.
The parity in Northwest Indiana is becoming pretty impressive.
Yes.
Kankakee Valley, Munster. Some of these teams that haven't had as much recent success as we've been accustomed to are now starting to reemerge. And, of course, they played each other today, and it ended up being a 2-score game. But if you would have said that these two teams were playing one of the hotly contested, high-profile games, I would have never thought that in week 1.
Right.
But here we are.
That's right.
So it definitely a lot of improvement coming from a lot of these teams out here. Chesterton giving Valpo a run for their money. Valpo at the beginning of the year, we thought, all right, they lost a lot of talent, but they're still going to be Valpo. We thought Chesterton, they lost a lot of talent. I'm not so sure what they're going to be. But here they are going toe-to-toe with Valpo, only losing by 1 score. A lot of interesting dynamics things going in this week. So I want to kind of open it up to the room here. What are some of your surprises this night? Let's go with let's start off with Andrew Johnson here. Andrew, what was your surprise of the night?
Laporte only scoring 7 after beating Chesterton last week. I thought that they would give Lake Central a better run for their money, but they only scored 7 points in a 21-7 loss.
Yeah, that's they had a lot of momentum going their way, a lot of excitement. A new week is a circumstance that happened here. Tom Maloney, what do you think is one of your big surprises of the night?
I think it comes down to special teams, and I think that's across the board right now. It isn't just one school that's suffering or celebrating as a result. Though we're still waiting on Tim Hogan to get the latest on the Boone Grove Wheeler update. But, special teams. It's the missed extra points. It's the fumbles on the kickoffs. It's the blocked kick return for a touchdown. It is, I think, to a certain extent, that those special team success stories and failures, really show the football IQ of the coaches and the players there, where, excuse me, in the Boone Grove Wheeler game, Boone Grove knew it's a live football. They recover it, return it 80 yards. Wheeler stands around and watches it. It's guys who are running down, looking for the ball, looking to make plays. And unfortunately for some of the kickers, sometimes it's a bad hold, it's a bad snap. It's a bad kick. You never know how that's going to shake out. For me, it's special teams tonight.
Sure. Wayne, what is your surprise?
Do you have a Calumet East Chicago score?
Last I got, it was only 14-0 Calumet. I haven't seen anything since.
I have to look at that and say, whoa, 14-0. Now, again, East Chicago has struggled this year. I thought Calumet was going to blow them out. So either Calumet has had some turnovers or something. I was kind of surprised at that one. Certainly, at halftime at the Kankakee Valley and Munster game, I was shocked that Munster was right there also.
Right.
But all of a sudden, in the second half, KV kind of took it over. I'm going to go with Calumet and East Chicago.
Okay.
Actually, I actually have an updated score for that. 48-8 final Calumet.
What is it?
48-8.
That's not my surprise anymore.
Yeah.
So,
would you like door number 3, Wayne?
My surprise of the night is a little bit different. I am not surprised that Hanover Central won big. I am surprised that they scored 47 points in one half against a Griffith team that was, improving to this point. I thought they were going to put up. I thought Griffith was going to put up a little more fight this week. Griffith is a proud program, and that's a bit of a rivalry game. And you normally don't see these rivalry games end up being running clocks and last-minute scores to run it that way.
I agree.
So it's been a pretty exciting week. We're going to probably end up getting a scoreboard update here pretty quick just to kind of get some finals here. Wayne and I are going to be moving on towards the television side of things in about 10 minutes. Wayne, how do we watch the television show?
Hey, you can tune to Lakeshore Media. It's channel 56 for it's channel 17 for Comcast and channel 56 for Dish. Is that true? No, it's the other way.
That's the other way around. I believe.
All right.
Check your local listings for channel number.
It's 56.
It is 56 and 17.
17 is a Dish.
Right.
But that is Scoreboard at 10:30. You can see Ben and I right there. We'll give you all the highlights. We'll give you all the commentary. We'll talk a little bit about this week, and we might even present what might be the game of the week next week.
Speaking of a tight game this week, we do have Tim Hogan with an update from Boone Grove at Wheeler. Tim, what's going on?
We have 1:15 left. Wheeler has it 3rd and 1 at the Boone Grove 46 with a 1-point lead. Boone Grove is out of timeout. So one more play. If they get the first down, the game's over. And what happened was, after I talked to you, is Wheeler drove down, the drive stalled. The Logan Murray kicked a 30-yard field goal with 5:03 left, and there's the first down. Wheeler just got a first down with 46 seconds left, so it'll be one kneel down play to end it. But after Logan Murray kicked the 30-yard field goal to put him up 1, Boone put a nice drive together, about an 80-yard, 60-yard drive. Unfortunately for Boone, Corey Davis with the interception. 1:50 left in the game, and Wheeler's running the ball out right now.
All right, so it seems like a pretty exciting end to this. What was it, 1 point?
1 point.
The final's going to be Wheeler 22, Boone Grove 21. They're kneeling down. They just kneeled down. The game's over.
Tim, what was the key to the game, you think?
The key to the game was penalties on both sides in the second half. Wheeler had a roughing the passer penalty that kept Boone's drive alive. Boone returned the favor with a roughing the passer penalty that kept the Wheeler drive alive, and that was really the key. And then obviously turnovers. The interception was key. That Roll is a pretty good quarterback, but he made one mistake tonight and it cost him the ball game.
All right, thank you, Tim. We appreciate all your hard work tonight.
Thank you. You guys have a great evening.
All right, thank you. You as well. So that game came down to it, huh? We've got a last-minute field goal that iced the game there, and a late interception. So there's been positives for special teams, negatives for special teams. There's been good offense. There's been not so good offense. There's been great defense. There's been not so great defense. We've had it all this Friday.
Yes, we have. A lot of suspense this week in Week 5.
Yes, we have. And I wanted to say, as we're winding the hour down here, I want to say thank you to Jessica. I'm so sorry. Wielasinski,
right.
The owner of Stefano's Pizza in Crown Point, for feeding the entire game night crew. Stefano's, the home of the Sauce Boss. Sauce Boss makes some of the best homemade dough and sauce around. Jessica will be celebrating her 8th anniversary as owner of Stefano's Pizza on November 16th. Stefano's Pizza is located at 10709 Randolph Street in Crown Point, just outside Lakes of the Four Seasons. You can call 219-663-6656 to place your order for the game night pizza. Again, that is 219-663-6656. And just thank you so much. It was absolutely phenomenal pizza, and we just devoured it here.
Yes,
there's none left.
We also thank NIPSCO for what they do for our station, not only keeping the lights on, but the support they give. This is public broadcasting. We need support to keep these shows running, and we really appreciate NIPSCO for being there for us.
I should note that with a lot of these games going final right now, and a lot of folks in their cars as they make their way home, we'll be getting to an Andrew Johnson scoreboard update. So big shout out and thanks to Andrew for filling in tonight for Steve Schmidt, and a pat on the back for myself for filling in for Andrew Johnson behind the board. I don't think I've had to fill in for game night for a couple of years, so Thanks for welcoming me in, guys, although you brought a Boone Grove loss with you when you welcomed me in, so not appreciative of that. But
I was really surprised at your knowledge of the sport, Tom.
What sport? This sport. Well, you know what? You know how I know so much? It's because I listen. Not only do I listen, but I'm a member of Lakeshore Public Radio, not just because of Game Night, but maybe in spite of Game Night. If I just keep giving him money, Wayne can never leave, right? And so for a lot of you folks who maybe listen to Game Night on the way to the game, on the way home from the game, this is an opportunity now for you to go ahead and become a member of Lakeshore Public Radio. And maybe you don't listen Monday through Friday. You're not tuning into the award-winning news and information on Morning Edition and all things considered, great local talk shows like Regionally Speaking. Hey, that's okay. I don't judge. I'm just slightly upset only because Boone Grove lost tonight. But the reality is we've got great sports right here in Northwest Indiana, both on Lakeshore Public Radio and Lakeshore PBS. And covering local Northwest Indiana high school sports is something that we really do take pride in, just because of the fact not a lot of people are doing it around here, let alone on the airwaves. You're not going to find another television that's going, a television station that's going out of their way to go ahead and broadcast local high school football. You're not going to get, at least in Northwest Indiana, you're not going to get, what is this, 5 hours of comprehensive high school football coverage, starting at 6 o'clock. And, Wayne feels every bit of those 5 hours by the time they hit the airwaves for TV. Which we'll be getting to the TV broadcast on the radio side as well. But, again, this is an opportunity for you. Ben, I think you've been at the station longer than I have.
I have, yes.
You started, I think, back in 07-ish, 08?
06, as a matter of fact.
06.
Yeah, I did a little bit of an internship, and then I worked here in the summers while I was at school here down at Purdue in West Lafayette. And then I came back here full-time. Yep. And, I've been kind of off and on. There were some times where I wasn't working here full time, some times where I was just, filling in. And, I've been here for, gosh, how long is it? 15, 16 years now.
So you've seen a lot of changes, I guess, when it comes to what's happening here at the station, but a lot of changes as well across Northwest Indiana over the course of a decade and a half.
Yeah, this we do this because we love Northwest Indiana. We love the kids. We love the sports, and I worked on the news show here too, which we don't run anymore. But it's definitely the opportunity to really get intimately knowledgeable and familiar with everyone here in Northwest Indiana. And like Wayne was mentioning earlier, it's kind of heartening to us when we get recognized out in public. We're not getting rich doing this. This is not we're not ESPN.
You guys might not be, but I'm not either.
Right, but we're doing this because we love it. We're doing it because we love Northwest Indiana. We're doing it because we love the sport, and we love these student athletes. And you got to keep in mind, these are students first.
Right.
And they're studying every night. They're doing their homework. They have to keep their grades up to play on the football team. And then they're coming out here doing what they love, living their best lives, and just having a blast every Friday night. And we have the opportunity to cover it for you folks here in Northwest Indiana. We do it for you folks because, you deserve to get some of these updates as well, and we really love doing it for you.
And I've only been here a year, but it's really been fun to do
this. It's been a long year, Wayne. You
very long year.
You haven't left the studio in years.
Long.
But again, the website is lakeshorepublicradio.org/give to become a sustaining member today. Help support this local public radio station and ensure that Game Night is on the airwaves for the next 14 years. We can't do it without you. So, of course, a big thanks to all of the folks who've already made pledges of support during our fall membership drive. And if you're listening, like I said before, if you make a pledge during Game Night, I'm going to force Wayne and Ben to go ahead and give you a thank you call so you can, talk with them. And
Can't wait.
This is Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM.
You're listening to 89.1 FM, Lakeshore Public Radio. Listener-supported public radio in Northwest Indiana. WLPR FM